Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Immortal villain. He becomes stronger by fighting for love. Chapter 61. The next day, a group of disciples in the famous sword sect were loaded into a large willow leaf boat at the first light of dawn and escorted out of the mountain gate by the elders. When Qin Yi was practicing in the morning, he heard his fellow juniors talking about each other. Some lamented, some laughed. Qin Yi, what's going on? Kuei Feng is now the senior brother, and the group of people close to Huang Tianrong are alienated from him. But there are also some people who are close to him. After all, before he came to Kuei Peak, there were people who couldn't get along with Huang Tianrong. It's just that these people can't beat Huang Tianrong, so they have always kept a low profile. Now that Qin Yi has become the senior brother and suppresses Huang Tianrong in every aspect, they all feel comfortable. Naturally, he became Qin Yi's loyal partner. Among them, the one who knows how to get things done is called Tang Niu. Judging from his name, he should be a very down-to-earth and simple person, but on the contrary, this kid with a sharp mouth and monkey cheeks is full of cleverness from head to toe. Among the original disciples, he ranked 5th. It's a pity that although people are smart, their talents and potential are too average. So far, they are only at the 3rd layer level of chi refining. They have been stuck for 3 years and have made no progress. Senior brother, you are here. We just sent out 2 groups of people. Tang Niu reported the situation. Where to send? The Bloody Forbidden Land. The barrier of the Bloody Forbidden Land has been opened, and now there are disciples from all the major sects entering it. There are also many people from our famous sword sect who have signed up to go. No, it is estimated that the day will be good today, and the elders will personally escort. They set off. So fast. Qin Yi frowned slightly. Last night he heard Xiao Qingyu say that he wanted to go to the Bloody Forbidden Land. He didn't expect that today would be the day to set off. However, this matter should have been brewing within the sect for some time. After all, several days ago, Ji Yu Yanshan also mentioned the matter of the Bloody Forbidden Land to Qin Yi. Fast? It's not that fast. Over at the Tai sect, it is said that there were disciples who entered 10 days ago. Now that they have come out, they are already in the Gold Core realm. Speaking of this person, everyone in the morning practice at the martial arts field looked envious. For Tai sect to have this opportunity, other sects can only envy it. As for jealousy, who has the experience? 60 years ago in Tai sect, some disciples entered the realm of chi refining and finally came out of the nascent soul realm. That Yuanying boss is now one of the core elders of Tai sect. With him providing experience to his disciples, Tai sect's chances of getting opportunities are several times that of other sects. Although it is not as good as the one from 60 years ago, it was still very strong during the Gold Core period. However, some people are happy and some are sad. I heard that many people died this time. But despite this, it still cannot stop the yearning of some ambitious people. Qin Yi looked at the sky. At this time, another willow boat set off, and there were actually 3 batches. It seems that there are quite a lot of people. If nothing unexpected happens, Xiao Qingyu should be among these 3 groups of people, right? Qin Yi muttered something silently in his heart, and then joked with Tang Niu, aren't you going? Tang Niu was stunned for a moment, and then said sarcastically, me. Senior brother, please stop joking. At my level, I am not qualified to die. Qin Yi, maybe, if you are lucky and come back to the nascent soul realm, you will be able to honor your ancestors. Tang Niu waved his hands repeatedly. No, I am still very self-aware. I just stay in Kuei Peak and practice hard. I don't dare to covet the opportunity of the Bloody Forbidden Land. Not only him, but other disciples also changed their minds about the Bloody Forbidden Land. After chatting for a while, Qin Yi entered the inner gate of Kuei Peak. Unlike ordinary disciples, he was guided by Ji Yu Yanshan in his daily morning exercises. Moreover, every morning, Ji Yu Yanshan would give him a Guiyuan pill. Although Qin Yi doesn't need elixirs that much, eating Guiyuan Dan like jelly beans can relieve his fatigue. Last night he went back and thought about it. In fact, as the son of the system, he just needs to be a little more careful and develop well. There is no need to take risks in the Bloody Forbidden Land. But there may be a risk factor in men's bones. On the one hand, reason told him that it was best not to go. But on the other hand, the curiosity about the bloody forbidden land was like an 18-year-old girl who kept teasing him, shouting come on, seducing him. Last night, after weighing it until midnight, he finally decided to go and have a look. So, after the morning exercise in the inner courtyard, Qinyi told Ji Yuyanshan what he thought. Ji Yuyanshan was surprised. Didn't you plan to go from the beginning? Why did you suddenly change your mind? Qinyi, my disciple feels that wealth is in danger. If I encounter an opportunity, maybe in 2 months, I will be able to shine in the Ao2 sword debate and earn face for my master. Ji Yuyanshan felt very pleased when he heard what he said. However, at this time, he no longer agreed that Qinyi would take risks there again. It's best for you not to go. Ji Yuyanshan said to himself. 60 years ago, although some people in Tai sect had great luck, behind this good luck, there were countless lives lost. Our famous sword sect was no exception. Back then our famous sword sect at least more than 500 people died in the bloody forbidden land. This includes my father. He wanted to break through the shackles of the gold core and break into the bloody forbidden land, but in the end he couldn't even leave his body behind. At that time, I had the same idea as you. Always thinking that my luck would be better than others, so I secretly went there once, but do you know what the result was? Qinyi was surprised that Ji Yuyanshan had also been there back then. Under Qinyi's curious eyes, Ji Yuyanshan suddenly pulled away his collar, revealing a scar as big as a bowl. You see, I was only on the outside when a great monster pierced my chest. If it hadn't been an inch away from my heart, I would have died there. Qinyi took a breath of air when he saw the scar as big as the mouth of a bull. He didn't know how Ji Yuyanshan survived at that time. But no matter what, it must be quite a fluke. With your talent and qualifications, there is absolutely no need to take risks. What's more, my teacher is ready to train you with all his strength. Also, if you take risks, Yi will definitely not allow it. Qinyi was stunned. Ji Yi said no. When Ji Yuyanshan said this, did he already know about his relationship with Ji Yi? Ji Yuyanshan suddenly snorted. You brat, haven't you noticed yet that Yi treats you differently from others? Qinyi breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that his father-in-law didn't know that he and Ji Yi had already had a relationship. It seems different. What does it mean to be different? My daughter, how could I not know? However, my teacher has long said that he will betroth Yi to you in the future. Therefore, whether it is for public or private purposes, my teacher does not recommend that you go. If there was no ultimate detection technique, then Qinyi would definitely not take the risk. But the current situation is that he has the ultimate detection technique and can definitely use it. At worst, run away if there is danger. After a moment of silence, he still said, Master, I still want to take a look. Aren't you afraid of death? Ji Yuyanshan asked him. The smooth road has been paved for you, but you choose to take the rough shortcut. Why take the risk? Qinyi also knew that Ji Yuyanshan had good intentions, but if he didn't go to the bloody forbidden land, he would miss the opportunity to win over Xiao Qingyu, his love. At the same time, he has the ultimate detection technique on him, and he also wants to go to the bloody forbidden land to see if he can harvest anything. But he couldn't say these words to Ji Yuyanshan directly. After thinking about it for a while, he thought of an excuse that Ji Yuyanshan could accept. Of course I am afraid of death, but in the past few days, I have vaguely felt that there is something going on in the south. A kind of opportunity is calling. Originally, the disciple was not planning to go, but it was because of this vague call that the disciple wanted to go. But the disciple will not just run in and take risks. The most important thing is to increase his knowledge. At worst, go take a look at the outer circle of the bloody forbidden land. If you really feel that something cannot be done, at worst, just don't go in. Quote. This excuse is not just nonsense. Many people with destiny do have some destined opportunities. Moreover, that opportunity was inherently bound to him. No matter how far apart they were, there was always a mutual induction between them. Like Hua Yunfang, he has his own destiny weapon. Even if his moon-breaking dragon spear and him are hundreds of miles apart, the connection between them will be very strong. And the moon-breaking dragon spear was not brought out of his mother's womb, but dug out of a filthy quagmire during a mission. At that time, no one believed that there was something under the smelly quagmire, but Hua Yunfeng firmly believed that something was calling him under the quagmire. With his unremitting digging, he dug at least 60 meters deep, and finally dug out the rusty moon-breaking dragon spear. Moon-breaking dragon spear looked like a lousy weapon when it was first unearthed, but after following Hua Yunfeng and being nourished by his spiritual power, it is now more and more sharp. Many people envied him for having such a natal weapon that was destined to him. Ji Yu Yanshan pondered at this moment, "Do you really feel this way?" Qin Yi nodded. "Well, it has become more and more intense in the past 2 days." Ji Yu Yanshan was deep in thought, wondering, could it be that my disciple also possesses a destiny weapon? This possibility cannot be said to be non-existent. After all, Qin Yi is indeed a genius, this cannot be denied. As a genius, it is reasonable to have a destiny weapon. If Qin Yi is really allowed to go to the bloody Forbidden Land and come back with a destiny weapon, then maybe he will really have the ability to compete with Hua Yunfeng. Thinking of this, Ji Yu Yanshan squinted his eyes and sighed, and said, "Well, since you want to go, then go ahead. But, according to what you said, you'd better just take a look in the outer circle and don't step in easily." Quote, "Disciple, I obey." With Ji Yu Yanshan's permission, Qin Yi could set off in an open and honest manner. In addition, the reason why he told Ji Yu Yanshan this matter was because he thought that after Ji Yu Yanshan agreed, he would give him some means to save his life. As expected, after Ji Yu Yanshan finished speaking, he took out a 2-finger-thick little beauty from his body and handed it to Qin Yi. "This thing is something I got by chance in the past. When you go to the bloody Forbidden Land, take it with you first. Having this thing with you can help you withstand the fatal blow of the masters in the Gold Core Realm world." The fatal blow from the Gold Core Realm master. To be honest, Qin Yi is still a little disdainful of such a useless thing. But after thinking about it, Ji Yu Yanshan himself was only at the peak of the Gold Core stage. It was already very rare for him to be able to produce a beauty of this level. "Thank you, Master. Don't make any announcement about your going to the bloody Forbidden Land, especially don't tell Yi. There will be a 4th willow leaf boat later. Since you are going, I will send you to the boat later." Even if Ji Yu Yanshan didn't need to tell him, Qin Yi wouldn't tell Ji Yu Yi about it. After letting her know, she would be worried if she didn't say anything, maybe she wouldn't be able to help but sneak away. After staying on Kueju Peak for half an hour, Ji Yu Yanshan took Qin Yi, avoided everyone's sight, left Kueju Peak, and went outside the door, waiting for the last willow leaf boat. The Luya boat was still helmed by an elder, and there were 4 or 5 other people on the boat, all of Ji Yu Yanshan's generation. When Qin Yi saw them, he had to call them uncle and uncle. Ji Yu Yanshan briefly explained to these elders and left Qin Yi on the boat. After that, the willow leaf boat flew south. Along the way, because of the age gap and the unfamiliarity with each other, Qin Yi did not talk to any of his uncles and uncles. There was no chance to talk to them, because they were meditating with their eyes closed along the way. Even the elder at the helm had his eyes closed. Qin Yi strongly doubted whether he would get the wrong direction when sailing with his eyes closed, but the results told him that not only he would not, but it would be very accurate. It was a journey of several hundred miles, and at Luya Zhou's speed, it took 2 or 3 hours to arrive. After arriving here, Qin Yi was thrown directly off the ship. Those elders should also be here to find resources, so how can they care about the life and death of you, a mere junior? Qin Yi didn't know what the so-called bloody Forbidden Land was until he got here. It turns out that after arriving here, even the sky here is blood red. The earth is also blood red. Even if you dig 3 feet into the soil under your feet, it will still look like it is stained with blood, and it is horribly red. And in the forest and between the mountains, there is always a strange blood mist floating thickly. Behind a very long stone wall is the boundary of a virgin forest. When those elders arrived here, they jumped like a star pill one by one, and their figures disappeared in a few flashes. He could feel that those elders all had gold core level cultivation, but apart from the gold core level, 2 of them also had very strong death aura. It is estimated that they also know that their end is coming soon, so they would rather come here to give it a try. The fight was successful, and I am a model every day. If you fail to fight, at most you will die early. This is the bloody Forbidden Land. Qin Yi stood on a high stone and looked down from a high position. Not far away, he saw piles of corpses. Some corpses have weathered, while others are still fresh and have not been dead for long. There were bodies scattered everywhere, but no one came to collect them. Suddenly, a figure floated over and landed in front of him. It was an elder from the Luyu boat. When he came to Qin Yi's place, he didn't talk to Qin Yi, but took advantage of the height of this place to look at the situation in the bloody forest. After watching for a moment, he seemed to have decided on the direction to go. Just as he was about to leave, Qin Yi shouted, "Uncle Shui, which way is better to go?" As the saying goes, if you don't listen to the advice of the elderly, you will suffer the consequences. As a first-time adventurer here, Qin Yi still wants to listen to the advice of his predecessors. But who knew that as soon as he asked, Master Shui said calmly, "You can go in any direction. Just don't follow me. If you follow me and hold me back, I won't let you go." Cut. Hold back. Who is holding whom back? Qin Yi just asked casually, but he was so disgusted by him. Okay, I'm too lazy to follow you. I think I'm holding you back. If you meet me inside later, don't come to beg me. Single quote. Uncle Shui jumped a few times and disappeared into the bloody mist. Qin Yi climbed over the high wall in no hurry, chose a route that he thought was safer, and stepped in. From the moment he entered the bloody forest, Qin Yi fully activated the ultimate detection technique. The system told him that if he wanted to avoid danger, he could use the ultimate detection technique to set the murderous aura option. If he wanted to obtain treasures, he could set the aura option. The principle is very simple. Dangerous things have murderous intent. The treasures scattered on the ground will more or less have some aura. Therefore, he opened both options. After entering, I quickly sensed that there were black and green areas in my sight. According to common sense, the black area should be a dangerous area, while the green area should be a safe area. In order to verify his conjecture, he picked up a few stones and threw them towards the black area. In the originally quiet black area, after a stone broke the silence, a thorny vine hidden under the soil suddenly swept out like a poisonous snake. Although what Qin Yi just threw was a stone, the stone was still crushed into pieces. This scene frightened him. If a person suddenly stood up, he would probably be crushed to the point where no scraps of flesh would be left, right? After that, he started to detect the green area again and threw several stones in the green area, but there was no response. So, he began to take courage and walked slowly along the green area. Not far away, he saw many more corpses, including old corpses and new corpses that had been left recently and were already smelly. At this time, there were 2 corpses with golden light spots flashing on their bodies. This is the detection reaction of ultimate detection technique, and the gold color represents aura. Is there something? He touched directly towards the golden position and quickly took out 2 bottles. Once the bottles were received, they turned out to be 2 bottles of chi-gathering pill. This thing is considered precious. Ordinary disciples have to go to work and complete tasks every month to get a few. Although it is of no use to me, it can be given as a gift to others as a favor. He stuffed the bottle into his pocket, and after walking for a while, he picked up a lot of things one after another from the corpses on the ground. Pills are the most common, followed by spiritual stone techniques and the like. They are of all kinds, which also means that these corpses come from all kinds of people from various sects. After walking about 5 miles, Qin Yi's pockets were full. Fortunately, I killed Shaho Tai and gained a storage bag, otherwise, I would have been a bit overwhelmed. Under the guidance of the ultimate detection technique, he walked in without encountering any danger. However, the further you go inside, there are more and more black and red areas, and the green areas are narrow and rare. Sometimes there are faults in the green area. For example, the green area in front is about 10 meters away from the other green area. You have to cross quickly to be safe. If you walk slowly over, maybe something will pop out of the black and red area in the middle. Therefore, under such circumstances, Qin Yi gradually felt like coming here to purchase goods and travel. He plundered everything with golden light spots. He avoided all areas with black and red dangers. 10 miles later, he met someone. What a coincidence, that person was none other than Master Shui, who had asked him not to follow him. This Master Shui has a high seniority, but his cultivation level is not very high. He is only in the early stage of Gold Core realm, and is only one level higher than Qin Yi. Because of his age and seniority, he has a tendency to look down on others. It was quite a surprise for the two of them to meet unexpectedly. Look at Qin Yi, there is not even a trace of dust on his body, he is clean. Shui Shou was very puzzled that a boy in the foundation building stage could actually reach this point. On the other hand, Shui Shou was in a mess, with bloodstains on his shoulders, waist, and legs. He was obviously seriously injured. And he was panting. He must have just avoided danger and escaped from the siege by luck. Why are you here? Shui Shou asked as soon as he met with his master's authority. Can't I come? Qin Yi asked back. He was outside before and wasn't sure if anyone else was around, so it didn't matter if Qin Yi gave him a three-pointer. But here, not even a ghost can be seen. No matter how arrogant and condescending you are, I won't buy it. When Shui Shou heard Qin Yi's tone, he frowned and seemed unhappy. Then I saw Qin Yi holding several bottles of Guiyuan pill in his hand, and judging from Qin Yi's appearance just now, he should have found them from the corpse. This kid actually does this kind of thing. Inside the bloody Forbidden Land, there are many dangers and many corpses. But most of the corpses had nothing on them, and thanks to this guy's luck, he was able to find so many Guiyuan pills. Give me a few bottles of Guiyuan Dan, I'm injured and need treatment. Shui Shou stretched out his hand to ask for it. It is natural and justifiable for the elders to ask for it from the younger ones. This is your filial piety and you should respect your elders. Cut. Qin Yi didn't even look at him. What does it have to do with you being injured? You open your mouth to ask for it, but you have a big face. You fool, what's your attitude? Shui Shou scolded angrily. Qin Yi's face suddenly turned dark. Who are you calling a fool? Shui Shou, if I hadn't looked at Ji Yu Yanshan's face, with your attitude just now, I would have killed you with one palm. Again, bring me the Guiyuan pill. Everyone who enters the bloody Forbidden Land carries a lot of life-saving supplies. Shui Shou thought that he had only been in for less than an hour and was injured so badly. He would definitely be more exhausted in the future. And Qin Yi actually picked up so many Guiyuan pills for nothing, so naturally he had to hand them over. You are a junior in the foundation building stage. Your elders let you get it because they think highly of you. Don't be shameless, Qin Yi sneered and said. Being a beggar requires you to have the consciousness of being a beggar. If you kneel down and beg and lower your attitude, maybe I will consider giving you a few. But if you open your mouth and shut up, you put on airs and threats, are you? Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Shui Shou's eyes were dark. Will you give it to me? Qin Yi was determined. I won't give it. As soon as the words came out of his mouth, Shui Shou pushed his palm horizontally and attacked violently. Qin Yi's ultimate detection technique was always on. As soon as he felt the murderous intent, his body reacted immediately and evaded immediately. He just dodged and saw that where he was just now, 3 big trees were broken by Shui Shou's palm. Shui Shou was ruthless in his attacks, and his moves were killing moves to kill people. Qin Yi, play hard, right? Okay, then I will play hard with you. In terms of realm, Qin Yi is now in the foundation building stage. Even if it is Zochin, it is still in the foundation building stage. There is still a big gap between it and the Gold Core realm world. What's more, Shui Shou has been in the Gold Core stage for many years and has a profound foundation. If he fights hard, Qin Yi will suffer a lot. Although he may be able to take advantage with the special skills he has learned, he has a better way to deal with Shui Shou. At this moment, a light flashed in his eyes, and a poisonous plan was born in his heart. Qin Yi suddenly picked up a rusty iron sword from the ground and threw it towards Shui Shufei with his backhand. After that, he went in the opposite direction and crossed 2 dangerous areas with his skill into the wine. His eyes could see where the green safe area was. So when he entered the dangerous area, he completely avoided those black and red areas. After arriving at the 2 dangerous areas, he waved to Shui Shou, "Old beast, this place is spacious. If you want to challenge me, come here." Shui Shou was furious. This fool dared to call him an old beast. At this time, the murderous intention aroused. "You evil beast, Ji Yu Yanshan is here today, I have to kill you." Shui Shou's gold core aura exploded all over his body, causing sand and rocks to fly on the ground. Within 10 meters of the circle with him as the center, not a single blade of grass grew, and everything was blown away. Immediately, he stood up from the ground, his body like a cannonball, and sprinted towards Qin Yi. So fast, Qin Yi's pupils shrank, and he had to admit that the gold core stage was indeed very strong. But he had already calculated the time. Seeing that Shui Shou was about to arrive in front of him, he immediately activated the third stage of Li Bai's skill, Juju. With a brushing sound, his figure suddenly disappeared from the place and returned to the original place 20 meters away. And Shui Shou carried a strong murderous aura and crossed 2 dangerous areas in a row. When he went there, he was fast enough and did not trigger the danger. When he found out that Qin Yi had disappeared inexplicably, he was stunned for a moment. In an instant, under the soil, thorny vines stretched out like monster intestines, one hooked his feet, and the other one pierced his stomach. And Shui Shou is worthy of being a master in the gold core stage. His magic sword suddenly came out of its sheath, and a ray of golden light lingered on the sword body. There was just a burst of sword energy flying, and the thorny vines were cut off beneath him. After being injured, Shui Shou was like an angry beast, his eyes turned red. "You little evil beast, you die." He went to kill Qin Yi again, and took the lead with his sword control. The magic sword pierced through the air with amazing power. After all, it is the gold core realm, which is different from the qi refining stage and the foundation building stage. During the qi refining period, you are still in the physical state, so swordsmanship is very important at this time. In the foundation building stage, he can still kill people with his sword, but his body's spiritual energy is insufficient and his battery life is too short. In the gold core period, it's different. As long as you give up your spiritual power, you can kill people with a sword. Shui Shou is not afraid of wasting spiritual power at this moment. As long as he kills Qin Yi, the Guiyuan pill in Qin Yi's hand will belong to him. He didn't feel it was a pity to sacrifice this bit of spiritual power. Haha, if you want to kill me with your sword, am I that easy to kill? Although the sword can kill people, after the sword leaves the finger, it is controlled by spiritual power and thoughts, and it is not as strong as in the hand. To put it simply, if the sword is in hand, Shui Shou can exert 100% of his strength. If you use a sword to kill people and use your spiritual power and mind to control the sword, then the sword's lethality is only about 60%. As for the 60% lethality, Qin Yi, with his peak foundation building strength, was confident that he could block it. So, he fought and retreated, while retreating and aggroing at the same time. "Old beast, your sword control skills are still a little bit behind. If you are the Yuanying old monster, then I really can't stop your sword control skills, but at your level, it's really not good enough. There is only one step between the peak of foundation building and the early stage of gold core. Therefore, after gold core is weakened to only 60% of its strength, it may not be invincible during the base building period." Shui Shou had evil thoughts in his mind and used all kinds of killing moves, but Qin Yi blocked them all. After several times, he had to admit that this Qin Yi was really a swordsman genius. His defensive swordsmanship is eternal life swordsmanship, the fifth set of swordsmanship in the famous sword sect, which focuses on defense. Although Shui Shou had heard that Qin Yi was good at Tianji's sword technique, he never expected that he was even so good at the defensive-oriented eternal life sword technique. Can completely block his sword attack. Why don't you attack again and have a head-on fight with me? How about that? Qin Yi provoked. Shui Shou squinted his eyes and snorted in his heart. Although Qin Yi's sword move was wonderful just now and he returned to the same place inexplicably, now Shui Shou has figured it out a little bit. When Qin Yi thrust forward just now, a translucent figure was left at the very beginning. Shui Shou didn't take it seriously at that time, but now it seems that that translucent figure is the point where Qin Yi will return. Doesn't this kid regard this as a source of support? Okay, let's see how I kill you. Immediately, Shui Shou called from the air, and his magic sword returned to his hand. "If you want to die so much, I will help you." Giving up his sword attack, Shui Shou killed Qin Yi again. Qin Yi also calculated the time again. Just when Shui Shou was about to approach with the power of wind and thunder, this time, he no longer used Li Bai's Zhang Jinju. Using the same trick twice, only a fool would do it. He immediately predicted in front of him, chanted magic, and released Wang Zhaojun's second skill, Confining Frost. At the same time, he also made himself the center of the circle and released a big move, "Winter is coming." Shui Shou came over angrily and was about to get in front of Qin Yi, but suddenly a cold air surged from the ground. Caught off guard, his whole body was frozen. Shui Shou shouted angrily, and the gang qi in his body exploded, exploding the ice cube with a bang. He was freed from the restraints, but at this time, densely packed icicles fell from the sky, like swords, striking at him crazily. Even if he was prepared at this time, he would still be bleeding. After being teased by Qin Yi twice, he gradually lost his reason and only resentment remained in his heart. "You little fool, you can actually do sorcery." Qin Yi ignored him and chanted a spell in his mouth. The frost that formed around him suddenly exploded towards Shui Shou like a mountain bearing down on top. This is Wang Zhaojun's skill, Wither Ice Crystal. After using this move, he saw that Shui Shou's eyes were red, so he used Zhong Jinju to rush into the dangerous area. When Shui Shou chased him again, strange poisonous insects suddenly jumped out of the jungle, each one as big as a leech. They flew to him and clung to him to suck blood. Shui Shou was caught off guard and was sucked into his eyes. The huge poisonous insect actually sucked away his eyeballs in one bite. "Ah!" Shui Shou screamed in pain and slashed randomly with his magic sword. Qin Yi seized the opportunity at this time, picked up an iron sword in the corpse's hand, threw it from behind, and pierced Shui Shou's waist with a pop sound. When Shui Shou turned around and wanted to fight back, the poisonous insects in the dangerous area pounced on him again, covering him densely. Qin Yi kept picking up weapons and throwing them at him. Within a moment, Shui Shou was trapped like a hornet's nest. Before he died, he was still glaring at Qin Yi with unwilling eyes. Qin Yi sneered, "If you don't overestimate your own capabilities, this is what will happen to you." For Qin Yi, if you are an elder or a high-level person, even if you are the head of a famous sword sect, if you dare to do this to me, then I will definitely kill you, there is no telling. After killing Uncle Shui, Qin Yi used branches to pull out his body. After getting it to a safe area, he searched briefly and found a lot of pills. Being able to be an elder in the famous sword sect, he naturally has much more than those disciples. In addition to Guiyuan pill, Qin Yi also saw 2 bottles of Sanyuan pill. Guiyuan pill is a matching elixir for the foundation establishment stage. Of course, it can also be taken in other realms. However, this elixir is most suitable for the foundation establishment stage. The Sanyuan Dan is suitable for gold core monks. What is 3 yuan? The return to origin in the foundation building period is the return of all things to origin, with the individual as the center. But in the gold core realm world, heaven and earth are added, forming a trinity of heaven, earth and people. Therefore, if you take the Guiyuan pill at this time, it will not have much effect, but it can be used to replenish spiritual power and heal injuries. If we go further back, there are 6 Yuan Dan and 9 Yuan Dan. The 6 Yuan Dan matches monks in the nascent soul realm. It can be said that most people have never seen what the 6 Yuan Dan looks like, or even heard of it. And the 9 Yuan pill is even worse, it is a pill that only matches the realm of incarnation above nascent soul. There is no doubt that the 2 bottles of Sanyuan Dan that Qin Yi found from Master Shui should be the most precious things he has accumulated over the years. Many people think that the monks in the world of cultivation are very rich. After all, their spells are all powerful. Isn't it easy to make money? But in fact, it's just the opposite. Most of the monks are very poor because all the precious things they have are exchanged for elixirs. Even if it is not an elixir, it has been exchanged for medicinal materials and other materials for refining the elixir. Therefore, finding elixirs from the bodies of the deceased is considered a routine harvest. The poisonous insects on Shui Shou's body were sucking his flesh and blood crazily. It was a corpse that looked quite full-colored, but in less than a moment, those poisonous insects sucked him down to the skin and bones, making him look like a mummified corpse. Even after those poisonous insects ate Shui Shou's body, they smelled the smell of flesh and blood on Qin Yi's body and wanted to pounce on Qin Yi. Their jumping ability is very good and they can leap directly within 5 meters. Qin Yi took the elixir and immediately stayed away. There are really many crises here. He relied on the ultimate detection technique to successfully go so far. It is conceivable that those who do not have the ultimate detection technique can go so far safely. Even if you can go this far, you will definitely pay a heavy price. I don't know what happened to junior sister Xiao Qingyu, or where she went. The main reason is that the bloody forest is too wide, and the location you enter can be random. To find a person in such a big forest is almost like looking for a needle in a haystack. Junior sister Qingyu doesn't have the ultimate detection technique, and with her strength and cultivation, she shouldn't be able to go this far. After resting for a while, Qingyi decided to search sideways. He targeted Xiao Qingyu with the ultimate detection technique and started detection. After actually having a target, the detection ability of ultimate detection technique is very strong. Unlike the detection of danger, the word danger itself contains too many things, so it usually shows different colors in front of Qingyi before he encounters it. It's like a danger zone and a safe zone. But once the accurate target is determined, the ultimate detection technique will activate its strongest detection ability. As long as the target is within 100 miles, it can be detected by him. He originally thought that even if this bloody forbidden area might affect the detection ability, at least the effect would be within a radius of 50 miles, right? Therefore, as long as he changes the vertical search to horizontal search, as long as Xiao Qingyu is not dead, he will always find her. Based on this decision, he began to search horizontally from west to east. This search actually lasted for more than 70 miles without detecting the target. Moreover, the bloody forest was so vast that he could not see where the boundary was at all. After that, he continued to search for more than 60 miles before finally sensing Xiao Qingyu's soul fluctuations using the ultimate detection technique. Finally felt it. The bloody forest was so vast that he walked for more than 130 miles before finding Xiao Qingyu's location. From this point of view, the several batches of people sent out by the famous sword sect before should have been thrown into different entry positions. When Qin Yiyu rushed to Xiao Qingyu's location, more and more people he met along the way. Most of them were unknown to him. Judging from his clothes, he must be from another sect. If they meet here, they won't say hello to each other. After all, there are dangers everywhere. As long as they meet unfamiliar people, they will basically be wary of each other. At this time, Xiao Qingyu was beside a quagmire, looking at the disappearing hands in the quagmire as if she had lost her soul. That was a disciple from the famous sword sect who came with her and was also her junior brother. They had just passed here just now. Because the junior brother was too close to the quagmire, his feet were entangled by an unknown tentacle in the quagmire, and he was dragged down with a whoosh. This wasn't the first time someone died in front of her. Xiao Qingyu was the second batch of people sent out. She participated in the operation this time and did not tell too many people. But this time, there were more than 30 people coming with her. Before coming, everyone was excited and full of expectations. Almost everyone imagined that they would be lucky and get great opportunities after entering the bloody forest. But the truth is often cruel. After these people were placed at the boundary line, the elders left. Then they either dispersed or formed a group and headed towards the forest. In the first hour, half of the more than 30 of them died. At the second hour, only the last 8 people were dead. Some people were so frightened that they chose to turn back the way they came. Some people are still bold, forgetting life and death, and go deeper alone. Xiao Qingyu was traveling with 3 disciples from the same sect as him in the 4th peak. By now, the other 3 people are dead. Because she is a girl, everyone protected her all the way here. And the price was the lives of all 3 of them. After all, who would have thought that in a quiet forest, you could be pierced through the heart by vines sticking out of the ground while walking on the road? Who would have thought that in the calm quagmire, the tentacles of the great monster could stretch out and hook people into it? Xiao Qingyu wept silently. Before coming, she had imagined that she might be lucky. But reality slapped her hard. This was clearly a crisis-ridden place with death everywhere. Opportunity. Where is the opportunity? At this moment, she was the only one left in their team. Should she continue or quit? If she continues, she will no longer have the courage, her mentality will collapse, and she will no longer be able to gain confidence. But if you want to quit, they were in danger before and ran around for a while. Now even if they want to exit, they can't find the path they used to take. Just when Xiao Qingyu fell into hesitation, the great monster in the quagmire seemed to be unsatisfied. After devouring her companions, it flew out a tentacle to roll towards Xiao Qingyu. Xiao Qingyu was horrified and instinctively blocked with her long sword, and tried her best to cut off the tentacle. But she didn't know whether her realm was too low or the tentacle's hardness was too high. Her long sword struck the tentacle's body without causing any damage. Just when she was about to be slapped down by the tentacle and the sword flew away, at the critical moment, a ray of red light came from behind. With a whoosh, the red light pierced the tentacle, and the power of the hot flames made the monsters in the quagmire buzz and scream. Immediately, more tentacles flew out from the quagmire and swept towards the two people in all directions. Walk! Xiao Qingyu let go of her long sword and was completely stunned. The person who arrived in time to save her life was Qin Yi. He used the ultimate detection technique to detect Xiao Qingyu's position and ran over slowly. Fortunately, he saved her life before she was about to be attacked. Stay away from the quagmire. Qin Yi pulled her back more than 30 meters. The monster in the quagmire looked fierce, but when the target was too far away, it did not come out to chase. It seems that it was born in the quagmire and grew up in the quagmire, and it will not escape from the quagmire. Qin, senior brother Qin. Xiao Qingyu slowly came back from her dazed state. When she found out that the person who saved her was the gentle senior brother Qin, at a certain moment, the softest part of her heart was deeply touched. The fear and grievance in my heart couldn't help but burst out at this time. Qin Yi knew the timing very well. Without saying a word, he put her in his arms and patted her gently. It's okay, don't be afraid. Xiao Qingyu was immersed in emotions. As soon as her tense heart relaxed, her tears couldn't stop falling. My brothers and sisters are all dead. They all did it to save me. Qin Yi sighed and reassured. You don't have to blame yourself. Those who decided to come here have already put life and death at risk from the beginning. This jungle is full of dangers. Even if they are not with you, I'm afraid they won't survive for long. Quote. Xiao Qingyu cried so hard that she was out of breath. After a while, her emotions calmed down a little. Then she realized that there seemed to be something wrong with being so close to Qin Yi. Then she broke away from his arms and wiped away her tears. Senior brother Qin, why are you here too? At this time, Qin Yi definitely couldn't say that he came here specifically for you, so he said, isn't it the time for the AO2 sword debate to come, and I also want to get a good ranking. So, I came here to try my luck, but I didn't expect that. I ran into you, junior sister, when I came in. I have to say that you and I are quite destined. Xiao Qingyu nodded. Senior brother Qin and I are indeed very destined. The bloody forest is so big, and the famous sword sect sent out 3 batches of disciples, each batch at a different entry point. Qin Yi entered the bloody forest from another entry point and met her inside. What is this but fate? Since we have met, how about you and I getting together? Qin Yi asked her. Well, as long as senior brother Qin doesn't think I'm a burden, that's fine. Xiao Qingyu was naturally willing. If she didn't have company, she would have to be alone. With her broken mentality, if she walked alone, she might not be able to go a mile, and she would have to repeat the same mistakes and follow the same path of her brothers. In fact, Qin Yi can also send her out at this time. But if we leave here, how can we have such a good contact opportunity? Now that they met, he would be able to capture Xiao Qingyu's heart in the shortest possible time. It's too dangerous here, let's go to the other side. After calming down, Xiao Qingyu walked side by side with him. Qin Yi wanted to lead her away, but if he proposed at this time, Xiao Qingyu would definitely refuse politely. Junior sister Qingyu, why don't you let me hold your hand? This way we can take care of each other more easily if there is danger. Xiao Qingyu hesitated as expected. Men and women are not close to each other, what's more, she is a famous woman who has her own owner. Under her hesitation, Qin Yi didn't say much and just deliberately led her to the junction of the black area and the green area. Xiao Qingyu couldn't see the black dangerous area and the green safe area anyway. At this time, he was walking on the side of the green area, and Xiao Qingyu walked side by side with him. As he walked into the black area. After only 7 or 8 steps, a huge blood fluke suddenly flew out of the grass on the side. Xiao Qingyu screamed in fright. At the critical moment, Qin Yi held her waist and stepped aside, successfully avoiding the schistosomiasis. In his ultimate detection technique, all dangers have been anticipated. At this moment, after startling Xiao Qingyu, her tact finally loosened. Look, there are dangers everywhere. If I had been a little slower just now, you would have been injured. Get your hands quickly. Qin Yi asked again. This time Xiao Qingyu didn't refuse again, and obediently put her soft little hand into Qin Yi's palm. After Qin Yi held her hand, it felt soft and boneless. At this time, he continued to lead her towards the dangerous location. When the danger was triggered, he immediately took her hand and dodged aside. Successfully avoided. After several times in succession, Xiao Qingyu no longer resisted the act of holding hands. What's more, she would subconsciously move closer to Qin Yi. After she took the initiative to get close, Qin Yi began to take her to the green safe area. Along the way, he also took Xiao Qingyu to search for corpses along the way, and he also gave half of the pills he obtained to Xiao Qingyu. Xiao Qingyu, who had never gained anything, cried with joy after getting these pills. If you don't get the big chance, if you can take these pills out alive, it will not be a wasted trip. The main purpose of Qin Yi's coming here this time was to capture Xiao Qingyu. Therefore, now that everyone has been found, he will not go deeper. Just take her for a walk in the outer area. After wandering around until dark, the highlight of his mind began to take action. What should I do when it gets dark? Of course you have to sleep and meditate. Since you want to sleep, you have to find a shelter. So, in a green safe area, Qin Yi found a huge rock. There was a small cave in the rock. If it was covered with thatch, it would be about the width of a double bed. He took out some fabrics from the storage bag, spread it out a little, and the prototype of a bed was born. After that, he called Xiao Qingyu into the cave and surrounded the outside with scattered stones to serve as a temporary portal. Junior sister, let's rest here tonight. Xiao Qingyu was very shy. After coming in, she kept huddled in the corner. Cheeks are rosy. As soon as night fell, there were various strange noises coming from the bloody forest. There are strange birdsong and the wails of dead souls. One after another, howling here, then howling there. As a girl, it is definitely impossible for Xiao Qingyu to say that she is not afraid at all. But her inner reserve also kept her at a distance and did not get too close to Qin Yi. Qin Yixin said, it won't work if it goes on like this. If she doesn't use some means, I'm afraid she won't be close to him until tomorrow morning. So, after the night deepened, Qin Yi used the same method he used to defeat Ji Yu Yi last time. Quietly, he placed a winter has arrived around the rock crevice. As soon as the cold breath came, the surrounding air immediately dropped below 0 degrees, and the cool air swept across the entire stone crevice. The stone itself is cold, and when it is invaded by the cold air, it becomes like an ice cellar inside. Xiao Qingyu, who was only wearing a long skirt, couldn't help but tremble. This bloody forbidden land, will it actually snow? She was confused and said she had never heard of it from the elders. Qin Yi, there are many mysteries in the bloody forbidden land. Who can say for sure? Let alone snow, even blood is probably possible. Seeing Xiao Qingyu trembling, Qin Yi asked, Junior sister Qingyu, are you cold? Xiao Qingyu shrank her feet and hugged her knees tighter, I'm fine. In fact, there is a lot of fabric in Qin Yi's storage bag, which can be used as a quilt cover. But at this time, of course he will not act as a warm man. I heard Xiao Qingyu say it was okay. Since it was okay, it meant that the strength was not enough. So, he released Wang Zhaojun's 3 skills one after another around the stone crevices. As soon as the cooling time is up, he will continue to play. Ice and snow fall one after another, making this place look like the 12th lunar month in the dead of winter. Even colder than the 12th lunar month of winter. After all, the center of this formation is absolutely 0 degrees. Even if a monk in the qi refining stage like Xiao Qingyu is much stronger than ordinary people, it is absolutely impossible for him to last in such a temperature for too long. At this time, Qin Yi did not take the initiative to speak. He had to wait until the other party spoke first. If he doesn't speak, he will continue to increase his intensity. In this way, it snowed for almost an hour. Wang Zhaojun's 3 skills, after being systematically transformed into spells, also consume spiritual energy. In Qin Yi's Dantian, almost half of the spiritual energy has been consumed by this time. And Xiao Qingyu finally couldn't help it anymore. She suddenly turned her head, and Qin saw that her eyebrows were stained with frost, which was a little white, and her lips were a little pale. Senior brother Qin, how about we go out to collect some firewood and make a fire here? Make a fire to keep warm. What a great idea. But how can Qin be fulfilled? He quickly threatened. Junior sister Qingyu, you can't go out carelessly at this moment. You just saw that huge ice cone falling from the sky. If you accidentally hit it, even if you are in the qi refining stage, you won't be able to withstand it. It's already dark, and lighting a fire here will expose our position to the monsters in the forest. If they follow the light of the fire and come looking for us, we may be dead before dawn. Quote. Xiao Qingyu herself had such worries. After hearing what Qin said, she immediately gave up the idea of going out to collect firewood. If you don't collect firewood, how can you survive such a cold temperature? Junior sister Qingyu, how about you and I get closer, it might be better. Isn't this good? Xiao Qingyu was still very conservative at heart. It's already this time, what else can we do? If we don't think of ways to keep warm, we're afraid we'll freeze to death here tomorrow morning. I still have some spiritual power, which I can use to maintain my body temperature. Xiao Qingyu bit her lip and said. Then if your spiritual power is used up and you encounter danger tomorrow, what will you use to fight the enemy? Qin asked. Of course, spiritual power can be used to maintain body temperature, but after you use it up, what will you use to fight? Xiao Qingyu lowered her head, thought for a while, and finally agreed with Qin statement, and then she moved closer to Qin. Originally, the distance between the two of them was at least 1.5 meters, but now it has shrunk to 80 centimeters. Come closer, how can you keep warm at such a distance? Qin said. Xiao Qingyu shyly moved another 30 centimeters closer. Seeing her being so coy, Qin finally took the initiative. Now that Xiao Qingyu had taken the first step, as a man, he could take the initiative to take the second and third steps. He went directly to her side and sat down next to each other. After Xiao Qingyu came into contact with his body, her delicate body trembled instinctively and she wanted to move away, but Qin had already held her shoulders. Don't move around. Isn't this better? In order for Xiao Qingyu to feel the warmth of his body, he specially used the mental method of Tianji sword art. Tianji sword technique is a fire attribute sword technique, which inherently carries a breath of flames and is very hot. As long as Qin wastes some spiritual power at this moment, he can completely treat himself as a stove and supply a lot of heat. Well, it's much better. Xiao Qingyu glanced at him with a blushing face, and then quickly looked away shyly. Qin hand on her shoulder also began to use the power of heart-fluttering hand at this time. At the beginning, Xiao Qingyu didn't feel anything strange. But as the contact lasted longer, her cheeks became redder, and many messy things about men and women could not help but appear in her mind. The more images appeared in her mind, the faster her heartbeat accelerated and her breathing became rapid. She didn't know why she became like this, but it had never happened before. Even at a certain moment, she felt that the embrace of the man next to her was so warm. If she could throw herself into it, she would be very happy, right? As soon as this idea came up, she was killed by herself. At the same time, she kept warning herself in her heart, Xiao Qingyu, how can you think like this? You are a Taoist companion, how could you give birth to such a bad woman? Idea. In order to stop her thoughts from wandering around, she suddenly moved some distance to the side, opening a distance of about 10 centimeters between the two of them. At the same time, he also said, Senior brother Qin, you can take your hand back. I have injured my shoulder and it hurts when I press it. Her shoulder was not actually injured, she just made a tactful excuse to ask him to take his hands away. How could Qin not know what she was thinking? This was the time of the fiercest struggle in her heart. The more this happened, the more he had to cooperate, so he quickly took his hand away and said, it's up to you. While cooperating with Xiao Qingyu, he also secretly increased his efforts and started snowing crazily around the stone crevices to make the temperature drop again. When the cold air rushed inside, Xiao Qingyu, whose face had regained a third of its color, turned pale again. At this time, her emotions became tangled. If she hadn't tasted the warmth before, maybe she could still endure it now. But she had just tasted the warmth next to Qin. At this time, under the biting cold wind, her hands and feet were almost numb. She began to miss the feeling of being around him. But she had taken the initiative to move away just now. Now if she wanted to get closer, she couldn't lose the girl's face. Qin Yi saw it in his eyes and knew it in his heart. He only smiled secretly and was not in a hurry. Like this, it lasted for nearly an hour. The cold wind was really unbearable for Xiao Qingyu, so Qin Yi took the initiative to pull her over and hold her in his arms. Xiao Qingyu was startled by his move. Hug, how could she and him do such an intimate act? Just when she was about to struggle out and say no, Qin Yi asked her very domineeringly, "Don't move, you are already frozen like this, do you still want to be brave?" Xiao Qingyu was halfway through her struggle. When she heard these words, for some reason, she felt as if a soft part in her heart had been stabbed. Suddenly, she was unable to struggle anymore. At the same time, the warmth from Qin Yi's body also passed through. Senior brother Qin's body is really warm, she thought to herself. Xiao Qingyu's breathing was quick and messy. Junior sister Qingyu, what's wrong with you? Xiao Qingyu couldn't tell. In fact, she herself wanted to know what was wrong with her. It's not like she has never had contact with men. Her scheduled Taoist companion, Shengguan Qing, also hugged her. But the most intimate step was not completed. Because whether it is the famous sword sect or other sects, it is very particular about arranging Taoist companions for their disciples. The names can be decided first, but for them to truly become Taoist couples and practice dual cultivation together, both of them must reach a certain level. If one party is in the stage of rising realm, they must not be allowed to practice together, because especially on the man's side, once Yuan Yang is poured out, it will not be of much benefit to practice. On the contrary, it will slow down the speed of cultivation. Only after the progress of cultivation has slowed down, can we use the dual cultivation method and find a new way to find a breakthrough. Shengguan Qing is also on the rise, including Hua Yunfang, and the sect will not allow them to have with women to violate the precepts. By name, they all have Taoist companions, but they have not completed the most intimate relationship. When Xiao Qingyu hugged Guan Qing in the past, she felt nervous and shy at best. But now being held in Qin Yi's arms, in addition to being nervous and shy, she couldn't help but fantasize about some taboo scenes in her head. Facing Qin Yi's questions, even she herself felt confused and nervous at the same time. Nervous because he was afraid that Qin Yi would see through his thoughts. Senior brother Qin, aren't you cold? In order to ease the awkwardness of the atmosphere, Xiao Qingyu also found a topic. I'm okay. As a man, my anger is relatively strong. However, the weather is getting colder and colder. It's still the first half of the night. If it gets to the second half of the night, I'm afraid even I won't be able to bear it. Then, what should we do? The situation this time is different from last time. Ji Yi has a relatively high affinity for Qin Yi and is relatively innocent, so it is relatively easy to capture her. But Xiao Qingyu is not as innocent as Ji Yi. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't stand the cold, she wouldn't want to get too close, which shows that her defense level is still very high. And this is not the Juhui Mountains. At most, you will encounter some wild beasts in the Juhui Mountains, and basically the danger is not very high. If it was very high, Ji Yanshan would not allow his daughter to go. No one knows what dangers there are in this bloody forbidden area. It is precisely because of this that it gives Qin Yi a lot of room to play. No matter how cold he makes the air, as long as he puts the weird name of bloody forbidden land on it, everyone will think it is reasonable. In fact, there is a way to speed up the blood in the body to achieve the effect of warming up. What method? Qin Yi felt it was difficult to do so, and sighed, forget it, if I tell you, I'm afraid my junior sister will blame me. Blame him. Xiao Qingyu was very curious, but she felt that given Qin Yi's personality, since this method was a bit embarrassing, it was not good for her to ask any more questions. In this way, the two hugged each other for about an hour. At the beginning, Qin Yi was secretly operating the Huayuanju of Tianji sword technique, which could generate heat in his body, thereby sharing this heat with Xiao Qingyu. But of course this kind of heat cannot be given all the time, but it doesn't mean that he has no spiritual power. With the amount of Guiyuan pills he picked up on the road, it would be enough to refill the pills dozens of times without spiritual power. The reason why I don't give it is that it's time to move to the second step of breaking the opponent's defense value. An hour is 2 hours. After the night has deepened, It is now about 10:30 p.m. Since Qin Yi no longer ran the fire element art, his body temperature did not rise. When the cold breath came in again, the two of them still felt chilly even if they hugged each other. Xiao Qingyu's delicate body couldn't help but tremble again. Junior sister Qingyu, are you cold again? Well, it must be late at night, it suddenly became very cold. Qin Yi smiled in his heart and sighed. I hope it will dawn earlier, and I hope the wind and snow will stop soon. I hope tomorrow will be better. Xiao Qingyu's lips trembled, and she shrank back. Senior brother Qin, is the method you mentioned before really effective? Qin Yi glanced at her and said seriously, it's useful, but it may not be very convenient for you, so forget it. Xiao Qingyu looked at him deeply. We have all fallen into this situation, and there is no inconvenience. If it continues to be cold like this, we will probably die of cold here tomorrow. So, senior brother Qin, if you have any idea, just tell me. You really think so? Xiao Qingyu nodded, her bright eyes shining like stars in the night. Seeing that she nodded, Qin Yi suddenly hugged her tightly, then lifted her chin and kissed her. Xiao Qingyu's body suddenly felt as if he was electrocuted. He quickly retreated a few centimeters and turned away. Senior brother Qin, how can you be so scornful of me? Qin Yi smiled bitterly and said, I knew you would have such a reaction. Xiao Qingyu bit her lip and said, is it possible that the method that senior brother Qin said, is this? Qin Yi said seriously, yes, close contact with the opposite gender will speed up each other's heartbeats. Once the heartbeat speeds up, the body temperature will naturally rise. I said before that this method may not be very convenient for you. Now it seems that, it's true. Let's forget it. After that, both of them fell silent. Although Xiao Qingyu did not break away from his embrace, she was obviously still a little bit more withdrawn than before. When Qin Yi saw this, he felt that it was not okay to continue like this. She has to accept it. Immediately, he secretly cast a spell and used the winter has arrived ultimate move over and over again. In order to allow the cold air to enter the small stone house more smoothly, he also used a skill to blow open the doors that had been piled up before. Without the cover of the door, the smell of frost is even more unbridled. Not long after the wind and snow blew, frost appeared on both people's heads. When he spoke, his mouth was always filled with anger. Xiao Qingyu was still very reserved and said nothing. After being silent for a long time, Qin Yi thought she was meditating, but when he patted her, he realized that she was confused and about to pass out. Seeing that it was like this, he didn't care anymore. He held Xiao Qingyu's face and kissed her deeply on her lips. At the same time, the fire yuan ju in her body was also running again. When the warm feeling was passed to Xiao Qingyu again, she was about to lose consciousness and finally recovered. But when she became conscious and saw that she was being treated lightly again, she instinctively wanted to resist. But Qin Yi also secretly said to her, don't move, don't you feel that your own body temperature has risen? Xiao Qingyu was stunned and felt it carefully. The close contact between men and women made her nervous and shy. At the same time, there was indeed a very strange energy in her body, causing her heartbeat to beat like a deer. Dry heat also arises from this and cannot be cut off. Although Qin Yi's method is a bit embarrassing, the effect is indeed very significant. Moreover, apart from this, he didn't do any other excessive behavior. Then, that's it. Single quote. After Xiao Qingyu acquiesced in her heart, she chose to accept it passively. A pair of beautiful black and white eyes also closed gently in shame. When Qin Yi saw her tacit acceptance, he knew that he had succeeded in the first step. Favorability +10. At this time, Xiao Qingyu's favorability score suddenly increased by 10 points. Qin Yi felt happy. It seemed that the more traditional and reserved a woman was, the more favorability she would earn after breaking the rules. In this era, what is the limit of intimacy between men and women? Under normal circumstances, it is limited to holding hands and hugging. Things like kissing were actually brought about by later generations under Western influence. Originally, with the reserve and culture in the bones of Oriental people, it would only take a couple of kisses at most, rather than a messy kiss like you chewing me and I chewing you. Now, Xiao Qingyu's favorability level has reached 80 points, entering the level of liking. At this point, in her heart, Qin Yi was completely ready to compete with her Taoist companion Shengguan Cheng. We need to take advantage of the situation and pursue it. Immediately he also used the activated hand. After a few minutes, Xiao Qingyu seemed not to be affected by the activated hand. A question suddenly arose in his mind: how come this activated hand has different effects on different people? Suddenly the system's gentle voice came and answered. The host's activated hand is still at the L1 stage, and its effectiveness is not stable. LV1. This thing is also divided into levels. Gentle Sister Yuyin. The magical skills issued by the system are divided into levels, with level 9 being the highest. If the host's activated hand is raised to level 9, the effect on anyone will be increased tenfold. So how can we upgrade it? Every time you complete the task of seizing love with a sword, the reward you get can be exchanged for level 1. In this way, the difficulty of upgrading this activated hand is actually higher than the cultivation level. You must know that if a famous woman has a master, as long as she successfully seizes her love, her cultivation will be directly improved by 1 or 2 levels limited to gold core level and below. When Shu Shinran was fighting for love, he could have upgraded 2 levels in a row, but at that time the system gave him a choice of 2 rewards. Either choose the magical skill, activated hand, or choose an elective to upgrade it to 2 levels. The system told Qin Yi at the time that every time a magical skill appeared, it would never appear again in the future. As long as you don't choose, you will miss it forever. He also thought that there were many opportunities to win love with a sword, but magical skills would not appear many times, so he decisively chose magical skills. If he had chosen the level at that time, he would have reached the nascent soul stage by now. However, he has no regrets about this. This magical skill is indeed very effective when used to seduce girls. At that time, it was very effective for Ji Yuyi and Shu Shinran. However, when it was used on Xiao Qingyu this time, the effect was not so significant. Dear host, there is one thing that needs to be reminded. The woman who used to fight for love and have a master can be upgraded to 2 levels because the host's initial level is low. In order to prevent the host from dying untimely, he directly helped the host to improve by leapfrogging levels. But when the host reaches the gold core stage, there will be level rewards for every woman in the future. Only women who need to be recognized by the system will have corresponding level rewards, 1 level at a time. Suddenly hearing the system's gentle reminder, Qin Yi was stunned for a moment, but then he accepted it happily. In fact, it makes sense to think about it. If there is such a high reward for winning the love of any woman, then in the future, as long as you lower your profile and go to the private sector to flirt with girls, you can easily accept dozens or hundreds of women. In the early stage of the system, in order to prevent the host from dying too miserably, there were cross-level rewards. For example, if it weren't for the cross-level rewards before, Qin Yi wouldn't be able to defeat even Huang Tianrong on the Kuiju Peak alone. After that, Song Shanming and Sha Haotai were even more unbeatable. What's more, he had died in Sha Haotai's hands a long time ago. Where is the present? Then if I succeed in stealing my love Xiao Qingyu this time, how many levels can I get? Upgrade 1 level and reach the early stage of gold core. Although the reward is not that high, it is actually not bad. Compared with others who have to work hard for decades to enter the gold core stage, he can enter the gold core stage with a single blow. While communicating with the system in his mind, he did not stop his in-depth communication with Xiao Qingyu. I don't know how long it took, but the snow stopped. After the 2 of them separated in a tired posture, Xiao Qingyu, who was lying down, pulled the silk satin to cover her body, with her back to Qin Yi, silent and speechless. Qin Yi didn't say anything at this time. At this time, he knew that he should give her some time to accept it. Then, it was dawn. The early morning sunshine failed to reach the bloody forest, but the temperature gradually rose, giving it a spring-like feeling. Qin Yi walked out of the crack in the stone and looked outside for a while. Junior sister Qingyu, if we want to find an opportunity, we can set off now. Xiao Qingyu stretched out her white arms, took the skirt in from under the silk satin, and then put the skirt on under the silk satin. When she came out, her face was expressionless, her eyes were dull, and she looked a little confused when looking at everything. Junior sister, what's wrong with you? Qin Yi asked her. Xiao Qingyu looked up at him blankly, without blinking. After looking at him for a long time, big tears fell from her watery eyes. Senior brother Qin, why are you bullying me? Chapter 71. Every woman is different, and her reaction after having a relationship is indeed different. After Ji Yi was taken away for the first time, she was a little bird. After Shu Shinran was possessed by him for the first time, she was gentle and well-behaved. Xiao Qingyu, who looked normal before, was crying so hard now. Although Qin Yi has obtained her body, his favorability level remains at 80 unchanged. This shows that I only got her body, but not her heart. However, for a woman with a traditional heart, as long as she gets her body, it will be relatively easy to get her heart. So, Qin Yi suddenly hugged her into his arms. Junior sister, I'm sorry, I will be responsible for you. Xiao Qingyu cried aggrievedly, and beat him with two white and tender hands. I obviously trust you so much, why do you bully me? No matter how hard she beat him, Qin Yi would not let go of his arms. He knew that this was her inner vent. In fact, at this time, as a woman, she was both scared and hesitant. Because she has a Taoist partner, she has never had a relationship with her Taoist partner, but now she has reached this point with another man. If someone knew about it, she would not be able to gain a foothold in the famous sword sect. What would her peers think of her? What would her relatives and friends think of her? Why are you bullying me? Xiao Qingyu was crying and couldn't stand any more. Qin Yi sat down next to her, held her in his arms, and said, actually, I like you, junior sister. From the first time I saw junior sister, I liked you from the bottom of my heart. Now that things have come to this, if you keep admitting your mistakes and apologizing, that's the behavior of a rookie. She has already given her body to you, is there any use in admitting your mistake and apologizing? At this time, as a woman, what she wants is a stable heart. Let her no longer be nervous, no longer afraid, no longer hesitant. As long as he can stabilize her heart, he is the one who stabilizes her. From now on, don't follow Guan Qing anymore and just be my woman, okay? Xiao Qingyu looked at him with tears in her eyes, looking at him dreamily without answering. Qin Yi added, then Shangguan Qing is not worthy of you, junior sister. In this whole world, I am the only one who can have you, junior sister. And I am also sure that you are absolutely destined to be my woman, and there is no mistake about it. Quote. Xiao Qingyu's eyes were still shedding tears. Although she didn't speak, she couldn't help but compare Qin Yi and Shangguan Qing in her mind. Although she had not known Qin Yi for a long time, the feeling Qin Yi gave her was unprecedented. Qin Yi is gentle and patient, while Shangguan Qing is impatient and cold. In the past, she was considerate of Shangguan Qing, because as Hua Yunfeng's good friend and brother, Shangguan Qing wanted to catch up with Hua Yunfeng's progress, so he devoted himself to cultivation. She thinks he should be considerate of his coldness and impatience. But with the same attitude, there is no harm without comparison. When Qin Yi's gentleness and patience appeared, Shangguan Qing showed impatience and indifference again, which would appear to be too unmanly and tender. She can understand Shangguan Qing, but who can understand her? Does she really want to be the person who is considerate of others? She is a woman and she also wants to be understood. Master will scold me. For a long time, with tears on her face, she finally said something worried. After hearing her words, Qin Yi smiled. Xiao Qingyu can say this, which means that she has recognized the relationship between the two in her heart, but she still has some worries. Now, he only needs to crush these worries to fully control this soft woman's heart. I will beat anyone who dares to scold you, my woman, whoever dares to scold you. Although Xiao Qingyu thought Qin Yi's domineering words were just comfort, she had to say that they were so useful to women. Reason told her that if the master really scolded her, what would happen if Qin Yi's cultivation and status were just the senior brother of Kueju Peak? But Qin Yi's heart to protect her at this time moved her very much. Women, after all, are animals with stronger emotions than reason. If Shangguan Qing finds out, he will definitely target you. Shangguan Qing, why are you afraid of him? Tell me honestly, junior sister, that when I go back this time, I should be able to reach the gold core stage soon. As long as I reach the gold core stage, can Shangguan Qing compare with me? Gold core period. Xiao Qingyu's bright eyes suddenly flashed. Senior brother Qin, are you about to reach the gold core stage? The gold core period is not comparable to the base building period. In the famous sword sect, if you are a disciple in the foundation building period, then the sect will regard you as a mainstay and a pillar of the future. But what about the gold core period? Once you reach the gold core stage, you will be the core disciple of the sect and the future mainstay. Why does Hua Yunfang have a high status and excellent treatment in the famous sword sect now? It's because he has reached the gold core stage and is qualified to improve his status and treatment. If Qin Yi also reaches the gold core stage, he may get a higher status and better treatment than Hua Yunfang. Why? Because Hua Yunfang has been in the industry for many years, and he has reached this level now. Qin Yikai has only been in the gold core stage for more than a month. With this talent and speed, how could he not be ahead of Hua Yunfang? If Qin Yi really reaches the gold core stage, even if everyone knows about her relationship with him, her master will not blame her. After all, Shangguan Qingkai is in the foundation building stage, and Qin Yi is in the gold core stage. The sect will not suppress a disciple in the gold core stage for the sake of a disciple in the foundation establishment stage. It would only make Shangguan Qing endure it. Well, the gold core period will be broken through soon. The gold core period is the reassurance given by Qin Yi. Then, senior brother Qin, do you really want me to be your woman? Xiao Qingyu's cheeks turned red. At this time, her mentality has changed. The gold core period gave her reassurance, so that she did not have to be afraid and nervous. As long as Qin Yi really wants her, her master will not say anything. Qin Yi tapped her forehead. Do you need to say this? You are already my woman. As long as you don't betray me, you will always be my woman. Heavenly King, I can't change it even if I come here. Xiao Qingyu grabbed his clothes and looked at him dreamily, tears suddenly falling from her eyes again. Qin Yi, why are you crying again? Xiao Qingyu took the initiative to bury Zhen's head in his arms. Senior brother Qin. I will not betray you. Favorability plus 2-0. At this time, her heart was finally taken by Qin Yi. What's surprising is that by gaining 20 favorability points at once, it is equivalent to getting 100 favorability points. You can get 2 rewards at once. The regular reward for winning a girl's heart is first level cultivation. If you get 100 points of favorability, there will be a mysterious reward. What will it be this time? Congratulations to the host for successfully seizing love with a sword and winning Xiao Qingyu. Do you want to receive the level 1 cultivation reward? The gold core period is a watershed. The system rewards can only be obtained at level 1. And if you accept this level 1, you have only reached the initial stage of gold core. However, Qin Yi is not in a hurry. If he receives this reward at the right time, it will have the effect of shocking everyone. What is needed is a high profile. Rather than this fixed reward, he wanted to know what the mysterious gift was distributed this time. System, what is the mysterious gift? Tell me quickly. Congratulations to the host for gaining 100 favorability points from Xiao Qingyu and capturing the girl's heart. Now, as a special reward, 3 Escape Talisman. Escape Talisman, what the hell is this? Escape Talisman. The method of use is the same as the Nascent Soul Experience card. After being stimulated with spiritual power, it can instantly take the host to escape thousands of miles. The direction is designated by the host. It turned out to be used for escaping, but it's actually a good thing. There are currently 2 Nascent Soul Experience cards left. If you encounter an opponent that cannot be defeated by the Nascent Soul Experience card, then this Sky Escape Talisman will come in handy. Specify a direction and once used, you can travel thousands of miles in an instant. By the way, Qingyu, do you come to the bloody Forbidden Land this time mainly to improve your cultivation? Now that he has succeeded in seizing love with a sword, Qin Yi doesn't want to stay in this ghost place any longer. No matter how many opportunities there are, for him, it doesn't matter what the opportunities are. No matter how big the opportunity is, can it be bigger than the system? So, instead of taking risks, it's better to go back early and make out with the women. Actually, not really. Is there any other purpose? Xiao Qingyu pondered for a moment. The breeze blew her hair around her forehead, and a trace of sadness loomed on her flawless face. There is another purpose, which is to come in here and find my grandfather. Your grandfather? Well, 60 years ago, my grandfather also came here. He wanted to find opportunities for me, but unfortunately, he never went back after he came out. 60 years ago, if something had happened to him inside, I'm afraid not even his body would be left alive. How easy would it be to find him? I know, but even if there is 1,000th chance, I still want to find him, because only by finding him can I know my life experience. Life experience. Xiao Qingyu looked at him tenderly and said, I was brought out by my grandfather when I was very young. I heard from Master that neither my grandfather nor I are from this area. As for why we came here, no one knows what kind of identity and background I have. When I was young, many of my peers in the sect laughed at me for being a child without a father and a mother, and I have always had low self-esteem. Although this situation no longer occurs when I grow up, it is still like a thorn in my heart. I want to know where my parents are and where I come from. However, without grandfather, these clues would be impossible to find, and only by finding grandfather can it be possible to find some clues. Quote, I see. In the huge bloody forest, it is impossible for ordinary people to find an old man who died 60 years ago. But for Qin Yi, this may not be impossible. As long as he uses the ultimate detection technique to identify the target as Xiao Qingyu's grandfather, as long as the bones are really in this forest, it is only a matter of time before he finds them. Let me find it for you. Qin Yi suddenly smiled tenderly at her. Since it's your wish, I won't say for sure. I'll try my best to help you fulfill it, okay? Xiao Qingyu looked at him affectionately. Her heart is soft as water, soft and quiet, yes. Then let's set off. But before we leave, Qingyu, do you still feel cold? Qin Yi came close to her eyes, almost to her ear, and asked her gently. Xiao Qingyu instinctively wanted to say, it's already dawn, and the snow from last night has long melted, so how can it be cold? But when she faced Qin Yi's hot gaze, she suddenly realized that the implication of senior brother Qin's words was probably not to ask her whether she was cold or not, but senior brother Qin, she murmured nervously, her cheeks instantly turned red and hot. After a passionate kiss, Xiao Qing was panting and her whole body almost went limp again. Senior brother Qin, are you okay at night? Now, it's daytime. Qin Yi stopped, touched her delicate nose lightly, and said with a smile, evening. What are you going to do tonight? Xiao Qingyu lowered her head in shame. Senior brother Qin, you bullied me again. Qin Yi laughed and patted Xiao Qingyu softly. Okay, it's almost time to set off, let's go. After a little flirting, Qin Yi took her to choose a green safe area. This time, after walking more than 20 miles, we actually came to a ruined area. Judging from the outline of the ruins, there should have been a temple or Taoist temple here before, and it was quite large. But now, there are only ruins and ruins left, dilapidated everywhere. At this time, what is surprising is that there are quite a lot of people staying here. To sum up, there are as many as 13 or 14. 3 or 4 of them happen to be from the famous sword sect. Because the disciples of the famous sword sect all have uniform clothes, they are easy to identify. Before Qin Yi and the others came over, there seemed to have been some quarrel here. The 4 disciples of the famous sword sect looked aggrieved and felt resentful in their hearts. But when they saw Qin Yi and Xiao Qingyu coming, the eyes of the 4 disciples suddenly lit up and they rushed over. Senior Sister Xiao, please seek justice for us. Xiao Qingyu looked at them in surprise. Why are you here? These disciples talked a lot about their general experiences from yesterday to today. It turned out that there were more than 40 people in their group, and they were the disciples sent out on the first ship of the famous sword sect. After arriving at the place, more than 40 of them dispersed, each with their own beautiful visions. The 4 of them originally had 9 teammates, but unfortunately 5 died last night. The remaining 4 unexpectedly came to the ruins early this morning. After arriving here, I was lucky enough to find a lot of good things in the corners of the ruins, including elixirs and spiritual weapons. However, as soon as they arrived, another group of people came behind. The opponent had a large number of people, so he forcefully snatched the elixirs and spiritual weapons they obtained from their hands. Due to the large number of people on the other side and their high level of cultivation, these 4 people could only eat coptis chinensis dumbly and dare not speak out if they were angry. No, just when they were filled with anger, they saw Qin Yi coming with Xiao Qingyu. Usually in the Mingjian sect, these disciples also hang out with Shangguan Qing's group and belong to Hua Yunfang's side. With this level of relationship, after seeing sister-in-law, Xiao Qingyu arrive, it was natural to persuade Xiao Qingyu to help and seek justice for them. The elixirs they obtained just now include both returning to the origin pill and foundation building pill, which are of great value to them. Especially a long sword, a spiritual weapon, is even more precious. They didn't dare to express their anger before, but now with Qinyi and sister-in-law Xiao Qingyu joining them, there are 6 people. In addition, Qinyi is in the foundation building stage. If he takes action, the other party will definitely have to weigh it carefully. After they finished telling what happened, they asked Xiao Qingyu again to help them seek justice. Xiao Qingyu looked at Qinyi. Her heart now belongs to Qinyi and she is Qinyi's woman. When a woman goes out, she is not allowed to make decisions on her own and must listen to her man. This is what women should know. Qinyi originally wanted to help his fellow disciples, it was nothing, it was just a matter of lifting a finger. But since he knew that they were from Hua Yunfang's side, he had no interest in them. Now that I have helped them, it is nothing more than a thank you. When he confronts Hua Yunfang later, these people will definitely jump out and turn against him again. In that case, can you help me? In fact, Xiao Qingyu can't be said to be familiar with these disciples. After all, she is a woman, so how can she have too much contact with other male disciples? When she was in the famous sword sect, when they met occasionally, they only greeted each other briefly, which was limited to nodding. The kind of acquaintance. At this time, Qinyi showed an attitude of not wanting to pay attention. Xiao Qingyu observed his words and quickly realized that since her man didn't want to care, she naturally wouldn't care either. However, to put it mildly, I need to say, they are more powerful in numbers. Even if we add up, we are only 5 people, so let's forget it. What's more, looking at the other party's clothes and attire, Taiji is the standard, and he is clearly a disciple of Tai sect. As we all know, today's Immortal sect is respected by the Tai sect. Right now, there are 10 disciples of the Tai sect, and there are only 5 of you here, how can you fight? In terms of quantity and momentum, they were half weaker. 5, how could it be 5? There are 4 of us plus you, senior sister Xiao, plus this. Qinyi, there are 6 people, and I heard that Qinyi is in the foundation building stage, with such strength, I can definitely fight with them. Yes, most of those in the Tai sect are in the Qi refining stage, and a few are in the Qi refining 9th layer. If Qinyi takes action, he will definitely make them return the things. Qinyi on the side smiled and sneered. You guys, after meeting me, you didn't even say hello to me. You opened your mouth and closed your eyes with only senior sister Xiao. Now it's my turn to contribute. Do you think of my strength in this foundation building period? Not to mention that there is no friendship between them, even if it is between relatives and friends. If you ask someone for help, you have to prepare a gift first, and then speak softly and lower your posture to impress others. You act like I look down on you, but you still want your help. Do you really take yourself seriously? In their expectant eyes, Qinyi suddenly said lightly, why should I take action? The 4 of them were stunned, as if they expected Qinyi to react like this. One person said, Qinyi, aren't we from the same sect? People from the same sect should help each other. This is also related to the reputation of our famous sword sect. Yeah, don't be so selfish. In front of the sect's reputation, do you have to stand by and watch? Are you afraid of death? If you are really afraid of death, then just pretend we didn't say this. The 4 of them sang in harmony. Qinyi said disdainfully, reputation. Are you 4 the only ones who have the honor to be nominated? Obviously the things you got were taken away by others, so you are the one who is embarrassed, right? After the things were robbed, you face the disciples of Tai sect, but I don't even dare to let go of a fart. Now when he meets his classmates, he barks and behaves like a wild dog. If you really care about the reputation of your sect, go and fight with the other party. Anyway, you are just taking control, so what are you afraid of? I was obviously scared to death, but now I put this hat on my head. It's none of my business to say the least, and they didn't steal anything from me. And I don't know you either, so where do you have the nerve to bark in front of me? In fact, not only this world, but also a large number of such people exist in the real world. Very disgusting. When he encounters a problem, he doesn't dare to solve it. He always thinks that someone else will step forward to help him solve it. When dealing with outsiders, he is submissive and groveling, yelling and irritable at those around him. To put it bluntly, this type of person is a villain at heart. You don't have to expect him to become a great person, nor do you have to expect him to feed back to you in the future. Because this kind of people only care about themselves, and being ungrateful is a routine operation. Why are you so vulgar? Shouldn't the same disciples help each other? Your cultivation in the foundation building period is just a piece of cake for you. It's okay if you don't help. Why hurt others with words? Hearing this, Qinyi didn't want to pay any more attention to it. A villain is a villain, he is small-minded and has a small vision. I am in the foundation building stage, can I do it with just a little effort? This is like saying that a relative who is out of reach will become a multi-millionaire one day, and your family is short of 500,000 yuan to repair a house, so you go to him to get it. You tell him that you are already a multi-millionaire. Giving me 500,000 is just a small effort. Don't be so stingy. We are all relatives. See if people will slap you. What does my foundation building period have to do with you? What does my multi-millionaire business have to do with you? What obligations and responsibilities do I have to give you 500,000? Qingyu, let's go. Qinyi stopped talking to them and started driving from here with Xiao Qingyu. After hearing Qinyi's words, Xiao Qingyu looked at the four fellow disciples with a look of disgust. She nodded lightly and ignored these four people. But after only taking 2 or 3 steps, the ultimate detection technique detected a golden light shining under a collapsed wall. The golden punctuation represents the existence of a spiritual treasure, either the elixir or the law weapon. Qinyi walked over, opened the rubble with one palm, then dug around underneath it, and took out a light blue dagger from under the rubble. As soon as the sword was pulled out, the sword made a roaring sound, and at the same time a dense cold air lingered on the sword. Holding this sword is like holding an ice crystal. Spiritual weapon. It's a spiritual weapon. The 4 disciples from the same sect of the famous sword sect were very jealous. There are actually treasures under the ruins, and this sword is obviously one level higher than the long sword they picked up before. Why is this dog Qinyi so lucky? Single quote. The sword was so close to us, we didn't even notice it just now. Single quote. He actually got it. Single quote. The 4 disciples did not rejoice for his good luck. Instead, they were jealous and wished that he would be snatched away immediately. And their expectations soon became a reality. The 10 Tai sect disciples were chatting and discussing the next direction of their trip, when they suddenly saw Qinyi pull out a light blue sword from under the ruins. Currently, in their cultivation world, there are 4 levels of weapons: law weapon, spirit weapon, treasure weapon, and Dao weapon. An ordinary law weapon can exert spiritual power and be used as a magic weapon. At best, it is stronger than ordinary iron weapons. But when it comes to spiritual weapons, it's on another level. This type of weapon itself has spirituality and aura, and can communicate with the owner's mind. When it comes to treasures, they are even more powerful. They are basically the treasures of all major sects. As for the Dao weapon, it is a legendary thing and no one has seen it yet. Therefore, among ordinary disciples of all sects, it is great to be able to obtain a spiritual weapon. It feels like driving a Maserati in a small city, enough to make you feel superior. The 4 levels of law weapon are divided into 4 grades: best grade, high grade, middle grade, and low grade. After all, the same people all have different levels, and weapons are no exception. The long knife that the Tai sect people snatched earlier was at best a low-grade spiritual weapon, and the edge of the knife was still a bit incomplete. Greatly reduced value. But now the light blue dagger Qin Yixin dug up was sharp as soon as it appeared, and there was blue light emitting from the sword body. This is clearly the characteristic and response of a superior spiritual weapon. Immediately, the 10 people from the Tai sect stood up one after another and quickly gathered around. Please hand over your sword, I'm interested in it. The 10 people of Tai sect are overbearing and arrogant, and they can do whatever they want with the help of their numbers. The most important thing is that they grabbed the sweet spot before. After all, the 4 cowards of the famous sword sect didn't even dare to let go of the loot before. Now that treasures have appeared again, they probably won't dare to grab it again. Say something. Bring it here, we put that treasure here before. It doesn't belong to you. Put it down quickly. This entire ruin belongs to our Tai sect. If you, the sword sect, know how to do it, please hand over the things quickly. One by one, they opened their mouths and asked for each other, getting closer and closer. The 4 disciples of the famous sword sect were secretly happy at this moment. Arrogant, Mr. Chin, you continue to be arrogant, mocking us for not even farting when we were robbed. Now it's your turn. What can you do? Don't expect us to help you now. We asked you to take action just now, but you didn't care, and we don't care now either. It's time to rob him. Single quote. Lest he harp. Single quote. The 4 of them gnashed their teeth, preferring that the treasure be snatched away rather than being obtained by Qin Yi. Xiao Qingyu followed Qin Yi closely, making a defensive posture. At this moment, the only one who thinks about Qin Yi is her. Qin Yi was not in a hurry. He played with the dagger in his hand and felt that although it was a spiritual weapon, it was not suitable for him. He grabbed Xiao Qingyu's hand and stuffed it into her palm. Senior brother Qin. Xiao Qingyu was stunned, but she didn't expect Qin Yi to hand this sword to her. I'll give it to you, Qin Yi said generously, but in the eyes of the 4 disciples of the famous sword sect, this scene had a sense of ridicule. What to pretend? I won't send it early, I won't send it late, but I just want to send it at this time. Doesn't this mean that you were eating chocolate in class, and when the teacher didn't notice, you didn't think about your deskmate at all? When the teacher noticed you, you immediately gave the chocolate to your deskmate. Isn't this despicable behavior? Do you think senior sister Xiao will lead you well? Also, did Qin Yi touch senior sister Xiao's hand? The 4 of them were immediately furious. In their hearts, senior sister Xiao was the sister-in-law of Shengguan Cheng. And now Qin Yi actually holds her hand intimately. Having this sword will help you a lot in practicing the Xuanji sword technique, Qin Yi said. This dagger is entirely light blue, with a water spiritual power contained within it. If you can use an ordinary iron sword to exert 100% of the sword's power, then using this sword can increase the power to at least 150%. This is a qualitative improvement. Thank you, senior brother Qin. Xiao Qingyu felt Qin Yi's care and couldn't help but feel sweet in her heart. You know, the value of the spiritual weapon is not low, and Qin Yigang just obtained the spiritual weapon and gave it to her without thinking. Doesn't this just prove that she has a very high importance in his heart? Are you deaf? However, this show of affection made all 10 of them a little angry for the Tai sect. I asked you to hand over your spiritual weapon, but you gave it to a woman. Did I give you face? Bring the spiritual weapon. One person was about to snatch it from Xiao Qingyu's hand. At this time, Qin Yi silently recited a spell and suddenly released Wang Zhaojun's second skill, Confining Frost. A thick cold air suddenly enveloped the earth, catching everyone off guard. After all, this set of Flower of Ice and Snow has changed from skills in the game to spells, so it is still different from the skills in the game. Its freezing range can be arbitrary, and its shape can also be arbitrary. However, the effect and power of control depend on the strength and realm of the caster. Since Qin Yi has not received the level 1 cultivation reward from the system yet, he is still at the peak of the foundation building stage. But even so, at this time he is still stronger than the 10 miscellaneous fishes of Tai sect. Among the 10 members of Tai sect, 4 of them are in the 9th layer realm of Qi refining. Under normal circumstances, they are so numerous that they cannot defeat them even in a foundation building period. But Qin Yikai is not an ordinary foundation building period. A person's strength depends not only on his realm and martial skills, but also on whether his heart is ruthless and whether his hands are poisonous. It just so happened that Qin Yi's heart was cruel enough and his hands were poisonous enough. Just when Confining Frost was activated and had just frozen the lower bodies of these people, he suddenly took hold of Xiao Qingyu's hand, hugged her and swept her across. The light blue sword energy was like a crescent moon, passing over the necks of the surrounding Tai sect disciples one by one. Then, he directly released his killing move, using the 9 stars of Tianji sword technique, to flash together, releasing 9 fire dragons. With him as the center of the circle, the ferocious flames rushed to all sides, leaving no grass growing wherever they passed. The hot flames and the chilling sword energy merged into one, leaving 9 sharp ravine marks on the ground. Looking back at the 10 disciples of the Tai sect who came to blackmail him, they all turned into charred corpses, falling to the ground one by one, and none of them survived. It's really interesting to blackmail me. Qin Yi smiled, and then searched the corpses with ease. After a while, some precious materials, elixirs, and law weapons were found. One of the corpses actually carried a storage bag. He found many rare medicinal materials in it, as well as a dark black long knife. Come to think of it, that long sword was just snatched from the hands of 4 cowards from the famous sword sect. Kill someone. They are disciples of Tai sect. You actually killed them. Aren't you afraid of Taiyiman's revenge? The 4 cowards felt cold at this moment. They were looking forward to watching a good show, but they saw such a terrifying scene. This Qin Yi was so cruel and ruthless that he killed the other party as soon as he made a move. You must know that the current relationship between the major sects in Immortal Dao is very delicate, and there has been no friction between them. Because of this, when you meet disciples from other sects, you won't fight if you can. Once friction is created, corresponding responsibilities must be borne. But this time it was good. Qin Yi killed 10 disciples of Tai sect and robbed the other party's things. If this matter spreads out, Tai sect will definitely not give up. Looking at the 4 disciples who were like quails, Qin Yi didn't even mean to say a word. After collecting the benefits, I was about to leave. The 4 disciples spoke again. Qin Yi, if you robbed their things, they can be yours, but do you want to return our things to us? The other 3 people all agreed. Yes, many things belong to us. They have robbed them, and you have to return them to us. There is a long sword. It is a spiritual weapon and it belongs to us. There are also several bottles of Guiyuan pill and Foundation Establishment pill, all of which belong to us. They counted them one by one, fearing that Qin Yi would corrupt them. However, Qin Yi turned around with a dark face and sneered, "This is a bit funny. When these things were in their hands, you didn't dare to ask for them. Now that they are in my hands, you dare to ask for them. Don't you dare to ask for them. I seem to be easier to talk to, or am I easier to bully? Why do you talk like that? Aren't we from the same school? Those things originally belong to us, shouldn't you return them? Furthermore, you also killed a disciple of Tai sect. Although we didn't do it, we were all present. Once this gets out, we will have to share the responsibility with you. Do you want to keep it all to yourself? After all, it is a spiritual weapon, and they are reluctant to part with it. I hope Qin Yi will be handed over and returned to them." But Qin Yi heard the hidden meaning of these 4 people's words. If the matter is spread out, we will take responsibility together. There are only a few of them here, how can the news spread? Unless it is the 4 of them who have big mouths and deliberately spread the news. Now that he is saying this, the implication is to threaten Qin Yi. If you don't return the spiritual weapon to us, we can't control our mouths. If we tell anyone, don't regret it. That's what it means. Okay, I'll give it back to you then. With a dark face, Qin Yi reluctantly opened the storage bag and took out the long black knife. The 4 people on the other side were overjoyed. There are also pills, including Guiyuan pill and Foundation Establishment pill. There are several bottles. Yes, there are several bottles. In the expectant gazes of the 4 of them, Qin Yi suddenly came towards them with the black long knife. He raised the knife and lowered it, and then made another move. 9 stars flash. 9 fire dragons flew from them with great ferocity. Wear it all over your body. The sharp blade was as fast as a tiger, cutting off 7 or 8 ribs on the chests of the 4 of them. Blood spurted out, and their internal organs burst out. If you want to die, just tell me. I hate being threatened the most. Qin Yi caught up with a man who was slightly injured. When the second knife fell, the man's head flew up. Another person was dying and fell to the ground. We are from the same sect, and you actually did this murder. Qin Yi sneered. What do you mean if you are from the same sect? I have killed the elders, let alone you. He chased after him and cut the man in half with a knife. As soon as the long knife was put away, Qin Yi wiped the blood on the knife body on the ground. Xiao Qingyu had already been watching dumbfounded. Qin Yi raised his sword and first killed people from the Tai sect, and then killed his fellow members of the famous sword sect. Kill as soon as you say, without any hesitation. It's not that she's scared at the moment, but Qin Yi has killed so many people. What will happen if he is really held accountable? Let's not talk about the Tai sect, let's talk about the famous sword sect. No matter how talented Qin Yi is, just the crime of massacring his fellow sect is enough to turn him into ashes. Senior brother Qin, Junior sister Qingyu, do you think they deserve to die? Xiao Qingyu didn't know what to say. Although the 4 fellow disciples were a bit despicable and shameless, they should not be punished until death. She has also lived in the famous sword sect since she was a child. She has not seen much darkness and believes that the glory of human nature should be bright. But Qin Yi is about to change her concept at this time and make her realize what reality is. If they don't die, when they go back, they will have 2 handles on us, oh no, even 3 handles. The first handle is my relationship with you. They will definitely talk too much and say some ugly things. I don't care, but to you, junior sister, I will never allow such a thing to happen. The second reason is that I killed people from the Tai sect with their own eyes. If they often threaten me with this matter in the future, won't I have to be controlled by others everywhere? The third reason is that I also got the treasure that originally belonged to them. Once I return to the sect, they will definitely complain in various ways and ask me to hand it over. Even after I was punished, I still had to thank them for their mercy, otherwise it would be against the rules of the sect to covet the treasures of the same sect. Based on the above 3 points, these 4 people had to die. In addition, although we are all from the same sect, the friendship between the same sect cannot be called friendship at all. Sometimes the people who stab the back are often the same sect. Everyone joined the famous sword sect for the sake of cultivating Taoism, but it is not that they joined the famous sword sect. After the famous sword sect becomes a sect member, there will be a relationship. That's not how it works. No matter what I do is for myself and the people around me. I say this, junior sister, can you understand? Xiao Qingyu looked at the burnt corpse on the ground while digesting what Qin Yi said in her mind. Although she is simple, she is not stupid. She just hasn't seen darkness, but it doesn't mean she doesn't know darkness. After what Qin Yi said, she did realize that if these 4 fellow disciples did not die, there would indeed be endless troubles. Although killing these 4 people seems a bit cruel, due to natural selection, if she shows great kindness at this time, it will definitely be Qin Yi and herself who will suffer in the future. Senior brother Qin, I understand. Just understand. Qin Yi Ruzi nodded instructively and said, you can try this sword, it should be very suitable for you. Xiao Qingyu picked up the light blue dagger again. Although this sword was a little shorter than her original sword, this sword was a high-grade spiritual weapon and must be 7 times more powerful. Holding the sword in her hand, she performed a few tricks on the spot. There was obviously no water flow here, but with the blessing of this sword, she was able to wield the water element's energy. In Xuanji sword technique, with the dance of this sword, the spiritual power of water follows her like a shadow, and the coherence of her moves becomes much smoother. After performing 3 moves, she stopped in surprise. Senior brother Qin, this sword is so powerful. When I use it, it seems like it is moving with me, rather than me controlling it. Qin Yi, this is the power of spiritual weapons. Spiritual weapons, especially high-grade spiritual weapons, are psychic by themselves. As long as they are held in someone's hand, they can immediately create a tacit understanding of human and sword unity with them. At this time, it is like an arm for you, able to make the most appropriate response at critical moments, and sometimes it will help you react when you are unable to react. This is the advantage of the spiritual weapon. Qin Yi knew a lot about weapons, and it was all thanks to his father-in-law, Ji Yu Yanshan, who gave him regular, make-up lessons, and taught him. Ji Yu Yanshan has a sword, Luoquan sword, which is also a spiritual weapon, but in terms of grade, it is only low grade. Thank you, senior brother Qin, I like this sword. The more Xiao Qingyu looked at the sword in her hand, the more she liked it and couldn't put it down. As long as you like it, let's continue on our way. The knife in Qin Yi's hand is also a spiritual weapon, but its quality is not high. It can only be regarded as a low-grade spiritual weapon, and the blade is missing a hole. But even so, if this sword is taken back to the famous sword sect, it can be used as an elder-level weapon. Continuing on the road for about 8 miles, there were more and more corpses on the ground. The treasures on the road began to dwindle. At the same time, there was a vibration deep in the forest, as if an earthquake was happening. In the bloody forest, many birds and beasts were frightened and flew up. When these birds and beasts flew past, I saw that their eyes were red, and they pecked people when they saw them. Is this what happened? Xiao Qingyu looked into the depths curiously, and Qinyi was also thoughtful. About half an hour later, suddenly a bright light flashed in the sky. If you look closely, you can see that there is a willow leaf boat speeding. Someone actually controls the willow leaf boat in the bloody forest. You must know that there is blood-colored mist in the space here. The mist is poisonous. It is extremely dangerous to fly in the air, and it is difficult to distinguish the direction. But this ship can move freely, as if without any hindrance. At this time, Qinyi and Xiao Qingyu were walking on a wide grassland. The huge willow leaf boat came flying towards them and suddenly stopped here. Junior sister Qingyu, why are you here? Luya Zhou lowered its height from the sky, and it was possible to see more than 10 people on the boat. There are younger generation disciples of the famous sword sect, as well as elders who came in the same batch as Qinyi. Many people were seriously injured. The person who greeted him at this moment was the #1 member of the younger generation of the famous sword sect, Hua Yunfeng. He stood condescendingly on the boat, his white robe fluttering in the wind, handsome and handsome. Qinyi glanced at him and then at the deep forest. Under the detection of his ultimate detection technique, he saw a large number of green areas in the deep forest being swept by black and red. The two colors of black and red are like a flash flood, wildly engulfing a large number of safe areas. Is there any danger coming? Qinyi had a bad feeling in his heart. The system's gentle voice suddenly reminded, "Dear host, because Hua Yunfeng, the chosen son, has taken away the greatest opportunity in the blood-forbidden land, the red craze has been triggered, and the danger is about to spread to the entire place. Please escape as soon as possible, the danger has arrived here, there are 5 minutes left." As worthy of being the chosen one, Hua Yunfeng also came to the bloody forbidden land this time and took away the biggest opportunity in the forbidden land. No wonder a large number of green safe areas are now covered in danger. This means that a red craze is about to sweep over. Come up quickly, junior sister Qingyu, I will take you out of here. Hua Yunfeng spoke on the boat and asked Xiao Qingyu to get on the boat. When Xiao Qingyu saw Hua Yunfeng for the first time, she was still very surprised. After all, it was very rare to meet an acquaintance here. She was not very familiar with other disciples, but she was still very familiar with Hua Yunfeng. After all, she was Ji Qingshuang's best friend. When I usually meet Ji Qingshuang, I often see Hua Yunfeng. But at this time, she still had to see what Qinyi wanted, whether she wanted to get on the boat or not. No matter how good her relationship with Hua Yunfeng was in the past, now that her man is Qinyi, she must obey Qinyi's wishes. After Hua Yunfeng arrived here, he didn't take Qinyi seriously at all. Qinyi also didn't look at Hua Yunfeng seriously. Although the two of them didn't exchange a word, they were like water and fire, incompatible with each other. Xiao Qingyu only glanced at Qinyi and knew what her man meant. Qinyi would definitely not accept Hua Yunfeng's kindness. So, she could only say politely, "Senior brother Hua, thank you for your kindness, but I want to find out the whereabouts of my grandfather." Hua Yunfeng on the ship said, "Your grandfather? There is no need to search. The bones of his old man and several elders of the famous sword sect 60 years ago have been found. I can take you over now to bring the bones back to the famous sword sect." Quote. Ah, really? Xiao Qingyu's delicate body trembled. She has always wanted to find her grandfather's whereabouts. Well, by chance, I met them in a ruins. They must have died of poisoning. Before there was an emergency, I didn't choose to move them. Now I can take you there and move them together. Bring the bones back to the famous sword sect and let them return to their roots. Hua Yunfeng said. Xiao Qingyu was very moved after hearing this. Her grandfather was her only blood relative here. It was only natural for her to be so anxious. Although Qinyi couldn't stand Hua Yunfeng, he would not forcefully stop Xiao Qingyu from missing his family, so he secretly sent a message to Xiao Qingyu to get on the boat with them. With Qinyi's words, Xiao Qingyu no longer hesitated, jumped up and landed on the willow leaf boat. After she went up, she called Qinyi, "Senior brother Qin, can you come up too?" Qinyi just smiled and said, "Go with them and don't worry about me." Hua Yunfeng suddenly said to Xiao Qingyu, "Junior sister Qingyu, why are you with him? It seems that the two of them have a good relationship. You must know that Hua Yunfeng's best brother in the famous sword sect is Shangguan Qing, and Xiao Qingyu is the Taoist companion booked by Shangguan Qing. To his brother's woman, he felt that he needed to remind him. Junior sister Qingyu came to the bloody forbidden land this time. Didn't she tell brother Shangguan? Xiao Qingyu was silent. Not only Shangguan Qing, she didn't even tell her best friend Ji Yu Qingshuang. Senior brother Qin saved my life this time and was very kind to me. She bit her lip, trying to say something nice to Qinyi in front of many disciples and elders on the ship. Oh, saved you. Hua Yunfeng was condescending and finally glanced at Qinyi. Qinyi, do you want to come up? If you admit your mistake to me, I can take you with me. As the chosen son, Hua Yunfeng also holds grudges. If Xiao Qingyu had not spoken, he would not have said a word to Qinyi. But since it was Xiao Qingyu who spoke, he still needed to give some points to his younger siblings. However, the prerequisite is that Qinyi must admit his mistake to him in public. You must know that the materials that Qinyi and the others used last time in the mission pavilion of the famous sword sect were exactly what Hua Yunfeng needed. At that time, he urgently needed these materials to refine elixirs so that he could hit the middle stage of gold core. But Qinyi regretted it on the spot. Knowing that he was going to take away the materials, he refused to hand in the task. Not only did he take away all the materials, but he and his master Ji Yuyanshan overpowered the medicine refining elder in the task pavilion. Although Ji Yuyanshan didn't take action against Hua Yunfeng that time, as the first person among the younger generation, he also suffered a loss of face because of that time. It should be noted that Hua Yunfeng is a talent of innate. In terms of talent and potential, no one among the younger generation of the famous sword sect can match him. He can ask for medicinal materials at will at the mission pavilion, which is a preferential treatment given by the head. You, Qinyi, are just a disciple who has joined the famous sword sect for less than a month. What right do you have to question and be dissatisfied? If it weren't for the sake of dripping sword Ji Yuyanshan, he would have wanted to take action against Qinyi. He targeted Qinyi not only because of this matter, but also because Qinyi was very close to Ji Yuyi, which made him feel very uncomfortable. At the moment, he is willing to give Xiao Qingyu face, but Qinyi must bow his head and admit his mistakes like a dog. As he spoke, he glanced deep into the forest. The red craze was surging and would soon sweep over to this side. If Qinyi refused to lower his posture like a dog, then he would never allow Qinyi to board the ship. Even if Qinyi died in the red craze later, it was none of his business. After all, he didn't take action. Qinyi sneered. Admit your mistake. What mistake do you admit? Hua Yunfeng. You are so stubborn that you don't even know where you are wrong. Are you really stupid or are you just pretending to be stupid? Qinyi. Let's not say what is wrong or right. If you want me to admit my mistake, who do you want me to admit it to? Hua Yunfeng stood down from a high position, with his hands behind his back, majestic. Of course you admit your mistake to me, don't you even have this awareness? You, haha, are you worthy? Qinyi sneered. Who do you think you are, worthy of me admitting my mistake? Hua Yunfeng's eyebrows shrank, murderous intent suddenly appeared in his eyes, but he quickly calmed down. If it weren't for the elders here, he would definitely not be able to help but take action, but precisely because he was in front of the elders, he needed to restrain himself. Anyway, the red tide is coming, and Qinyi will die without his support. Junior sister Qingyu, you have also seen it. It's not because I didn't give him a chance, but because I gave him a chance. He himself doesn't know the truth. In this case, there is no need to waste our time for this kind of person, let's go. Hua Yunfeng left as soon as he said so. As soon as he finished speaking, Liu Zhou turned the bow and galloped away. Xiao Qingyu on the boat chased Qinyi several times, showing concern, but in the end, as the boat speed, the distance between the two parties became farther and farther. Just now, I really wanted to kill him directly. Qinyi opened his palms and already held a nascent soul experience card. To be honest, according to his temper, he just wanted to slap Hua Yunfeng to death. Who gave him the face to dare to speak arrogantly and domineeringly? However, the red tide is coming, and only he, Hua Yunfeng, knows where the bones of Xiao Qingyu's grandfather are. In order to fulfill Xiao Qingyu's wish, Hua Yunfeng could only be allowed to live for a few more days. Red Frenzy will arrive here in 3 minutes, host please leave quickly. The gentle voice of the royal sister once again sounded the danger warning. Seeing the mountains and forests turbulent, birds flying and beasts fleeing, Qinyi stopped lingering and ran towards the outside. 3 minutes is a short time, and others will certainly not be able to escape from this area, but to him, it is just a trivial matter. On his way out, he also met a few people, who were exploring the depths with innocent faces. Little did he know that danger was coming. Seeing that their clothes belonged to other sects, Qinyi didn't say anything to remind them that if it had nothing to do with him, he should just hang up. Almost half an hour later, he finally arrived at the outskirts of the bloody forest. When he arrived, 2 people, a man and a woman, had already arrived at the outskirts. Let me tell you here, lest the brainless gangsters want to argue, doesn't it mean that the Red Frenzy will arrive in 3 minutes? The protagonist is heading to the outside. As long as the speed is not slow, the Red Frenzy will always be behind him and cannot catch up. The man and woman stood on the high wall and witnessed the red tide washing through the bloody forest. What is the red craze? The boundless red is actually a kind of red poisonous insect, densely packed and boundless in number. Under such a craze, even the old monster Yuanying would never be able to survive in the sea of worms for 3 minutes. Fortunately, we came out quickly, otherwise, there would really be no bones left. On the wall, the woman with an exquisite face said proudly. As soon as she finished speaking, a whip in her hand hit the man next to her. After the man was in pain, he knelt down in front of her with a thud and did not dare to say a word. It's all you. I asked you to move faster, but you were too slow to do it, which made me unable to collect the orchid cherry blossom. The man didn't resist at all, he just admitted his mistake. After a while, he glanced towards the bloody forest and found that the speed of the bloody craze was slowing down, as if it had been hindered by something. He immediately said in surprise, "Miss, look, the bloody craze seems to have stopped." The woman took a few glances and found that the crimson craze seemed to have really stopped, so she said in surprise, "Why don't you go quickly and take the opportunity to pick out my orchid cherry blossom?" Should I go now? The man's face turned pale. Although the red craze has stopped, who knows how long it will last? If you run in at this time, isn't that lighting a lantern in a latrine, looking for death? If you don't want to go, do you want me to go? The woman put her hands on her hips and was overbearing. The whip in his hand struck him again. The man was hit twice and his eyes couldn't help but look towards Qinyi. He suggested, "Miss, how about asking him to go with me? If there are 2 people, the success rate should be much higher." Although he didn't know Qinyi, he had to pull Qinyi along. He was afraid alone, but with 2 people, Qinyi could handle any danger on the road. This woman had a noble status and came to the bloody forest to take risks without telling her family. She had already done a lot of similar things. At this time, he pointed at Qinyi without thinking, "Who is that?" "You go with him to collect orchid cherry blossoms for me." Qinyi felt as if he had heard wrongly and pointed at himself, "Are you talking to me?" The man kneeling on the ground said harshly, "Nonsense, I'm not talking to you, are you talking to a ghost? In front of our young lady, please be polite." Cut. Qinyi was speechless. Whose eldest lady was this? She came to a place like this to show off her temper. "I really don't know how to write the word, death. Stop talking nonsense and come to me quickly." The lady was very impatient, kicked the slave, and then took out a doll from her body. After shaking Qinyi, a yellow talisman flew out of the baby's body. As soon as the yellow talisman was attached to Qinyi's body, Qinyi felt as if he was controlled by something, and his hands and feet no longer obeyed his orders. This girl actually has such a method. No wonder they don't know each other, but she can boss them around and make others listen to her orders. "Quickly, you walk in front." When the male slave saw that Qinyi was affixed with talismans, he immediately stood up arrogantly and commanded Qinyi. Qinyi couldn't help but feel that his feet were not in control and he wanted to jump under the city wall and run towards the bloody forest again. This is being controlled. When he used his spiritual power to break free from the shackles, he found that it was of no use. "Hurry up, what are you waiting for?" The male slave urged again, coming over and wanting to kick Qinyi. And Qinyi also suddenly thought that since he was controlled, he should be able to release the control, right? He immediately used the system to create Zhao Weijun's skills and techniques, and just recalled them once in his mind, and a set of Tai Chi Yin and Yang Ju was instantly generated. Dear host, congratulations on your creation of Tai Chi Yin and Yang technique. This technique is in line with the principles of heaven and has become a mark and blessing on the host. At this moment, there were 4 marks spinning and floating in Qin Yi's dantian. Those are the Green Lotus Sword Song mark, the Ice and Snow Flower mark, the True Word Boxing mark, and the newly generated Tai Chi Yin Yang Ju mark. For others to learn martial arts skills, they need to practice 3 to 9 times in winter and 3 days in summer to achieve results over time. But as long as he generates a mark in his dantian, he can immediately exert his proficient power. Immediately, he used his second skill, calm and concentration, on the spot. As soon as this move came out, he felt that his mental power and soul power were both stirring, and he stood like a pine and sat like a bell. Zhao Weijun's second skill is originally parry, and can reflect the opponent's control skills. In the game, you need to use it first before you can rebound. Now that it has become a spell, you can release the control later, and you can still use Tai Chi to reverse the factors that are detrimental to you to rebound. When the male slave saw that he suddenly stopped moving, he couldn't help but kick Qin Yi in the back. You are still lingering. I told you to leave quickly. Can't you hear me? The kick from the male slave failed to hit Qin Yi. He felt that there seemed to be a layer of Gangqi on Qin Yi's body and directly bounced his kick away. Immediately, Qin Yi turned around, kicked him in the arms, and kicked him 20 or 30 meters away, falling into the bloody forest. The unruly woman looked surprised. What was going on? Is this new slave out of control? You know, her puppetry technique has always been tried and tested, but now, there are people who are not controlled by her puppetry technique. How is that possible? She took out the doll again and shook it again towards Qin Yi. The doll's eyes glowed strangely, and then another yellow talisman flew out from the doll's body, trying to stick to Qin Yi. Qin Yi pulled out the black sword from the storage bag, and a secret flashed from the sky. The fire was blazing, and along with the sharp blade, the flying yellow talisman was cut into 2 pieces with one stroke. Turned into ashes on the spot. Seeing that he could really resist, the woman grabbed the doll and shook it wildly. The weird doll suddenly flew out 3 yellow talismans at once, trying to stick to Qin Yi from 3 different directions. At this time, the cooling time of qi calming and concentrating has just arrived. Qin Yi inserted the long black knife aside, sprinted forward, and took a Tai Chi stance. Calm and concentrate under this spell, a Tai Chi wheel formed under his feet. 3 yellow talismans flew over one after another and stuck to his body, but in the next second, they exploded one after another. The yellow talisman exploded, and even the eyes of the doll in the arms of the unruly woman exploded. It was backfired. You are so bold that you dared to break my lady's magical treasure. Diomanu was furious when she saw the baby's eyes bursting out. Without waiting for her to make the next move, Qin Yi grabbed his hands forward, used Tai Chi to suck his palms, and sent out a strong wind, enveloping the unruly girl and sucking her closer. Then, Qin Yi grabbed her hands, captured her, and pressed her against the city wall. Let me go, you slave. Open, let me go. The unruly girl struggled wildly and kept cursing. Qin Yi picked up the face on the ground and slapped her, whose daughter has developed such an unruly personality. When the whip went down, the girl screamed, Slave, you dare to hit me, do you know who I am? Qin Yi, I don't care who you are, if your parents don't teach you, then I will discipline you for them. He picked up the whip and struck the girl again. When Qin Yi picked her up and took a look, he found that she was beaten and crying, and her tears were dripping. At this moment, the red craze in the forest accelerated toward the outside. The male slave who was kicked in by Qin Yi just now was screaming in the forest. Obviously, he couldn't get out. You heard it, your slave has been killed by you. It was obviously you who kicked him off. The woman shouted in dissatisfaction. Tisk, you dare to talk back. Qin Yi picked up the whip and hit it again. Ah, the woman burst into tears in pain, gritted her teeth and tried to turn around. I will fight with you. It's a pity that her cultivation level is not high enough to reach the 8th layer level. With Qin Yi's peak foundation building strength, it would be easy to handle her. You dare to hit me. I will let my father kill you. I will let my brother kill you, the girl cried. Qin Yi turned a deaf ear and beat him more and more vigorously with the whip. The so-called filial son emerges from under the stick. A naughty lady like you just doesn't get beaten enough. Do you know who I am? Although the girl was crying, her tone was very strong. Qin Yi, I don't care who you are. Just when he was thinking about how to deal with this girl, suddenly there was a strong murderous aura approaching quickly from the ultimate detection technique, induction. The effective range of the ultimate detection technique is 100 miles in radius. I just sense the murderous aura, and it should be that the murderous aura is forcing its way here. The person coming was very powerful, so the ultimate detection technique could sense it. Uncle Lu, save me. Suddenly, the unruly girl captured by Qin Yi had a glowing bead in her mouth, and she shouted loudly at the bead. It turns out that the beads are a necklace around her neck. They should be the law weapon, which can call for help remotely. She must have bitten the necklace around her neck just now when Qin Yi wasn't paying attention. She was the one who attracted that murderous intent. Qin Yi chuckled. Innocent. He put the girl on his shoulders with his backhand, grabbed the necklace around the girl's neck with his left hand, took it off and threw it into the bloody forest. Then he put the unruly girl on his shoulders and ran away. Qin Yi left in a flash. Not long after he left, a figure hurriedly appeared on the city wall where he was just now. The person who came looked like he was in his 50s, panting, and his face was flushed. He must have come from a very far away place and used a secret method to increase his speed before he got here. But even so, he still came a step too late. Standing on the city wall, he looked at the glowing beads in his hands. He was guided by this treasure and came all the way here. But now the luminous point at the other end guided by this treasure is actually in the forest. Miss Qianwei, he just heard Ouyang Qianwei's cry for help in the law weapon communication. He has been looking for someone for several days. Today he finally got the message. But after coming all the way here, is it too late? The man suddenly roared and struck the forest with a palm. The dense red torrent was shattered and opened up on the spot by the force of his palm. The layers of poisonous insects were torn apart like a carpet. But despite this, the red tide was still too fierce, and he could not find the other end of the communicator from the forest. If the communicator was on Miss Qianwei's body, then Miss Qianwei would have been bitten to pieces by now, leaving only a white skeleton, right? Qin Yi, who had not been able to hitch a ride on Luyezhou, was now running wildly along a beautiful river with the unruly girl on his back. He probably remembered the direction back to the Mingzhan sect, but he didn't have a ride. It would probably take several days to go back by other means. However, this journey will probably not be boring. Without taking a breath, he ran for hundreds of miles before stopping at a bay area by the river. The world of cultivation is indeed different from that of later generations. In any natural landscape in later generations, there are basically traces of human pollution. But here, the mountains are mountains, the water is water, the mountains are clear and the water is beautiful, and the birds are singing and the flowers are fragrant. There were swarms of fish in the small river, and even in the small Ming Bay, he saw several mandarin fish hiding blatantly by the rocks. Well, the girl was suddenly thrown to the ground by him. Her hands were tied and her mouth was gagged. She looked at him with a grieved face, but her clear and bright eyes were full of hatred. What are you looking at? Are you still dissatisfied? Qin Yi lifted her chin. Just give up on your will. If you fall into my hands, no one can save you. This girl is unruly and domineering, treating human life as nothing but grass and treating everyone as a slave. If her appearance and figure were any different, Qin Yi would not have let her live at all in the first place. The reason why I keep her now is purely for entertainment on the road and to kill the boredom. The girl protested angrily. Qin Yi pulled out the cloth from her mouth. What do you want to say? As soon as the cloth strip was pulled out, the girl's cherry mouth finally closed, but her cheeks were also extremely sore at this time. As fierce as a wild cat, she opened her mouth and bit Qin Yi's finger. I will bite you to death. Tisk, that's really cruel. You really don't understand your current situation at all. Seeing that she was still so unruly, Qin Yi decided to give her some profound experience. There happened to be a large oval stone lying by the river. He pulled the girl to the stone and pressed her on the stone. The girl seemed to realize something. Her big beautiful eyes widened desperately, and she shouted nervously. After such an intimate exchange, the girl's head suddenly lit up. Favorability plus 30. Favorability plus 20. Is this okay? 30 plus 20. Now the girl's favorability towards him has reached 50 points, which is a friend level. This is equivalent to getting 50 favorability points inexplicably. If this continues, it will not be difficult for Qin to get 100 favorability points from her. However, when he met this girl, he did not trigger the task, which meant that this girl was not a famous girl. Even if you get 100 points of favorability from her, the reward will not be high, or even no reward at all. Thinking of this, his interest suddenly dropped by more than half. Simply untie the rope from the girl's hand. Forget it, I'll let you go this time. Just go. The girl used her hands to get out of the trap, and instead of attacking him immediately, she became more delicate. She turned her head with faint eyes. Aren't you irresponsible by taking me away? Qin had a strange expression on his face. If this unruly girl was arrogant and unreasonable, he would be used to it, but now she looks so delicate and shy, but it feels awkward. You still want me to take responsibility? Are you looking for a fight? Qin raised his hand, pretending to hit her. The girl closed her eyes, shrunk her body, and pretended to be pitiful without even hitting her. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.